do want to sing happy birthday to John Force.
It's live, but I don't really want to sing happy birthday to any grown man.
Why?
Because I just don't.
But you'll call Daddy Dave Comstock Daddy Dave.
Yeah, that's his name.
But you won't sing happy birthday to John Force?
I wish he had happy birthday.
It's May the 4th too. How ironic is that? You know, it's like the Star Wars Day. May the Force be with you. May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
And his name is
Star Wars guy.
That's
you think?
It's a good one, Mike.
John Forth.
I'm going to sing happy birthday to John Force.
If you ask John, he probably planned it that way.
He probably did.
Yeah, right.
He probably has like a text chain going, a group chat with God, you know, him and a handful of friends. And he's like, hey, really need to be born on the 4th, May the 4th, so that the 4th can be with
for
you.
This whole
Pretty
for
good,
this
right?
whole like weird cult movie thing. 30 years in the future will make sense.
Oh, it's so funny.
It's gonna work fine.
Why is there not a John Force movie?
True.
I don't know. Maybe they're
Where are
waiting
we
until
at
after
on
he retires to tell the whole story.
You think?
Yeah.
That's usually what happens.
Will he retire? I think he'll just
I think
stop
he's just
when
gonna
drag
keep
racing
going into eternity.
stops. He'll stop.
I think he'll just stop. Like,
Yeah.
Let's do this thing. What do you got for us for a question today, Dion? Is it a fun one?
I'm kind of just wondering. I was thinking about this today because I made it to Chick-fil-A with like 3 minutes to go before breakfast ended. Are you guys more of like a sausage or bacon type person?
Oh.
I'm always
Listen, I'll answer. I'll just answer for the group. Bacon. Bacon is the candy of meats.
No, I think
Bacon
bacon
is
is
candy of
given as
meats.
a
I can eat
side
it.
at Cracker Barrel, and that's it.
Really?
Bacon,
maybe on a
bacon is
burger or
more
a BLT.
predictable. Like it's really, really, really hard to get bad bacon, in my opinion. But you can get a bad piece of sausage in a hurry, like gristle.
In a real hurry.
Weird.
Matter of fact, I'm
Yeah,
almost
I'd
here
be
to
in the
argue.
minority.
I'm here to argue that those sausage patties, they're like you microwave. Those might be the best. Like as far as being like
They're good.
consistent, the same every time. Because I'm with Mike. Sausage is a
I don't
real
know.
crapshoot,
Sausage
man.
McMuffin are awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
What about,
not going to
the
turn down
sausage,
a
the sausage
biscuit.
AM Crunch Wraps at Taco Bell are amazing.
See, I like the bacon AM Crunch Wrap.
See, now I'm going to say that I'm a bacon guy on everything, like literally everything. I like bacon on it. But breakfast sandwiches, I'm a sausage guy. Sausage
Really?
gravy,
That's
sausage.
interesting.
Yep.
I'm a bacon guy across the board. Like we have a thing at our house. We have bacon sandwiches. We just eat sandwiches with nothing on them really but bacon and like
What are we
some
having for
condiments.
dinner, honey?
Mayo?
Bacon.
It's got to have mayo on it.
Yeah.
A BLT is killer. A BLT is
mayo.
good, but the bite in bacon isn't always.
I have a great question around the room, and anybody tuning in our little green room pre-game chat, we would love to hear your thoughts on this as well. Are you a bacon guy? Are you a sausage guy? And then I'm also real
I like
quick
making bacon.
making bacon. What about mayonnaise or Miracle Whip?
neither.
Oh, mayonnaise.
Mayo.
And I want
I'm out on
Duke's,
those.
Duke's mayo. We don't have that.
Duke's
Miracle
mayo
Whip
is
crap
awesome.
here in the South.
Yuck.
Yeah,
Miracle
Duke's mayo
Whip?
is awesome.
I am out.
Miracle Whip's awful.
I mean, I am literally out on Miracle Whip, but I
I'm
know
out
people
on
that will
both.
fight about this, like literally
Oh
fight
yeah.
about
Yeah.
Miracle Whip.
I dip my fries in mayo. Like it's the worst thing I learned in college was you could go to the Burger King, order off the dollar menu, and just get like 10 packets of mayo, and everything tastes good when you dip it in mayo.
Oh yeah, Jay. If you've ever gone to eat with JT, mayo
All right.
is the number
The
one
king
dipping sauce.
of condiments.
I'm calling it. We got to start the show.
Yeah, we gotta go.
I can't handle this anymore.
Send it.
Roll it.
The Wes Buck Show.
It's uncut. It's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. This is the biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred.
Speaking his mind.
I've never had a problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way.
Exploring hot topics.
Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do.
And spreading the gospel of drag racing.
I respect the history. I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. This is the great American motorsport, drag racing.
The Wes Buck Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Hold on, I'm going to switch this bad boy to single person only for a minute. Welcome you guys all to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is somehow, some way, Wednesday, May 4th, 2022. It's John Force's birthday, which I didn't know about until I got a little bit of a notification earlier that like the May the 4th be with you. It's also John Force's birthday. What a coincidence.
I was going to sing to him, but you didn't want to.
We're gonna sing to him. I mean, that's about to happen, whether you guys like it or not. We're about to sing John Force happy birthday because I think it's a great viral clip. But viral might be a stretch. Yeah, but anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for joining us. It was a wild weekend in the sport of drag racing. We had stuff going on all over creation. Really, Doorslammer drag racing standing tall. I mean, like, really standing tall this past weekend. We had Pro Mod action from the NHRA Four-Wide Nationals out at ZMAX Dragway, right outside Charlotte, North Carolina in Concord. I was actually out there for a couple days, had a fantastic time. We also had the PDRA's second stop on their 2022 tour, the Doorslammer Derby go down in Bowling Green, Kentucky, as well as the Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Association somehow kicking off their 30th season of continual operation this past weekend at Maryland International Raceway. A little bit of a side note, that facility was recently reacquired by Royce Miller. Really fantastic development for the sport of drag racing. We've got a lot to cover today. We're going to be joined in a little bit by our friend, longtime friend of the show, the one and only Lyle Barnett, who made his way to the final round. A little bit of a fiasco of a final round this past weekend at ZMAX Dragway in Fuel Tech Pro Mod, the Fuel Tech NHRA Pro Mod Drag Racing Series presented by D-Wagon. We'll hear a little bit from Lyle, get the inside scoop on that whole scene. Obviously, his thoughts and feelings on four-wide drag racing, which I believe myself and the gang are going to touch on as well. We will also hear from first-time winner, PDRA Pro Outlaw 632 winner, Amber Franklin. This is a second-generation racer, the first time an all-female final in Pro 632 there at the Doorslammer Derby. Really, really special moments. We're going to check in with Amber Franklin right after the 3 o'clock hour if you're watching from the central United States. We will also, a little later in the show, be joined by NHRA Pro Mod veteran, longtime just friend of Drag Illustrated, a great guy, a wonderful ambassador for the sport of drag racing, the one and only Doug Winters, who's going to fill us in on some details and kind of cast his vision for what he thinks is happening right now in quarter-mile legal NHRA Pro Mod drag racing, as well as some exciting news for later in the season. But before we get into all that, we got a whole lot to cover. Mike, JT, what's cracking, my friends? You doing well out here?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Hey, I just saw a question here. Justin Wall, he asked, Wes, you coming to Big Dog tomorrow? Wes is not, but I am, and I'm excited about it, man.
You're taking a friend too, aren't you?
In addition to everything going on this past weekend, we got Big Dog coming up tomorrow night at Piedmont Dragway. Weather looks fantastic, and I'm actually hearing that there is a little bit of a bounty that is being put together. If anybody that shows up and takes out one of the big hitters, which are Barry Mitchell, Jason Harris, Brian Schrader, and of course, I'm going to blank on the fourth one, Cam Clark. If you take out any of those four guys,
Cam Clark,
supposedly there's a bounty close to $10,000 in addition to the winner's purse. If you take out any of those four guys in the final round.
Wow.
And if no one gets it tomorrow night, it will roll over to next month's race and the following month's race,
so it'll and
continue to build. And I think they're going to continue working on this.
Man, this was a real big deal for me back on my old cell phone plan when your minutes rolled over.
Rollover.
Do you remember that? Rollover minutes are a big deal. So that rollover, hey man, out here changing the game.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to going up there. I haven't been to Piedmont or a Big Dog race in quite a while. So if you're going to be up there, give me a shout.
Awesome.
We'll get West to one.
I'm going before the end of the year. Like I think maybe the one in the fall. I'm a kind of fall weather guy. I'm built for I was gonna say, weather.
This might be the last one with like sub 90-degree temperatures. So you're going to need to wait.
Yeah, I may hang out and wait till one this fall and let that bounty money hopefully accumulate a little bit. But for me, I think that's a victory to see people, promoters, racers just thinking outside of the box, like doing anything to try to add to the luster, to bring a little shine and excitement to what's going on. Because again, we talked about it pretty hot and heavy there when we had Jason Harris on the show a couple of weeks ago, but I'm here for Big Dog, man. That style of racing, nitty gritty 8th mile drag strip, Thursday night, under the lights, quick turnaround. I mean, you can't hardly ask for much
sounded
more.
awesome, and Jason laid it out there really good for everybody, like what it's all about. And as a spectator, I think it would be just awesome, completely awesome.
Hey, look, Wes, Mark Caruso wants to go to Full Moon for dinner before we go tomorrow night.
No, dude. All they
Mark,
have
Mark wants to go back. I owe Mark dinner now. He wants to.
Well, hey, huge shout out to our buddy Mark Caruso. Took us out to dinner. Let's do a little weekend recap. We had a freaking ball out. Took us out to dinner, JT, though, at like a seafood specialty restaurant.
Oyster bar is what he's looking for.
The Blue Oyster.
No, it was called Full Moon Oyster Bar, and it was a great time. Myself, Sam Smith, Brett Underwood, Mark Caruso, Camry, of course. Who else was there? Mike, obviously. Oh yeah, the kids.
My whole crew.
Mike's kids.
Yeah.
Mike and Lisa, his kids, Christian and Caroline. We had a big time, man. I mean, I don't know personally.
You hate
I had like
though.
chicken teriyaki. No, dude, I ordered a grilled chicken
teriyaki.
breast. I had chicken teriyaki. So it was like white rice, 2 grilled chicken breasts with some teriyaki sauce on it. It was really quite good. I told the guy, I said, "Hey man, I know you guys are some bad mother shuckers, but I'm here for the Sounds
chicken." Like you need like 2 gallons of water to get that down.
Yeah, it was a little salty. Yeah, it was a little salty. I used vodka. You know, that was really helping.
I thought we were gonna have to do Wes like we do my daughter. When we go there, she says she wants chicken nuggets. Well, they don't have chicken nuggets, but they do have like popcorn shrimp. So that's what we get her. Hit her with some ketchup. Like, how are your chicken nuggets? Perfect, good, love them. So that's what I thought we were gonna do that to Wes.
Is that literally what you're doing to Caroline? You're making her eat shrimp?
Yeah, that way she doesn't have a shellfish allergy when she grows up.
Oh, bro,
get it in there early.
This seems kind of screwed up, man.
Not really.
Yeah.
We do all kinds of things.
If somebody convinced me, well, whatever. I've got a lot of stories about I've eaten like elk, I've eaten rattlesnake, I've
never touched any of that. We're over here on the East Coast, man, close to the ocean. We do not fear seafood.
Yeah, I've noticed that. You guys always lean into seafood. Doug Johnson's got a cool question here. Wes, is Lyle Barnett the best driver in the country right now? Listen, Lyle, we don't need his head to match that beard, right? We're gonna get him. We're gonna get this. He's gonna be off kilter. He's gonna be like trying to stand up and not be able to pull it off, dude. We got easy DJ, easy Doug Johnson. I know you've got an internet following, but we can't be putting this out into the universe that he's the best driver in the world right now. I do think he's Doug, in the conversation.
Well, before that, Doug asked, "Is he the winningest driver in the last?" Whatever he said, 30 days. I couldn't see what he said. And you may have an argument there.
Lyle knows.
You may have an argument there, but
for sure.
Hey, I really do want to, the guys are going to get mad at me, but I'm going to do this regardless. I just want to give a couple of shout outs to our sponsors. And I want to remind you, the Wes Buck Show is brought to you each and every week by our friends at Stroud Safety. Right now, log on to stroudsafety.com/Wes and you can enter to win. It's easy. All you got to do is put in your first name, your last name, your email address, and be entered to win a Stroud Defender Series seatbelt set. Really cool deal. The best of the best, obviously. 100% made in America, coming out of an incredible facility right up the road in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. So support those that support us. Log on to stroudsafety.com/Wes. JT, do you guys want to go ahead and dive into this past weekend, or do we want to bring Lyle on? I think Lyle's already in the green room.
Let's set up the situation here at ZMAX this past weekend. Obviously, well, lots of good racing going on. John Force wins. Mike Salinas wins.
All right, real quick.
I'm gonna get caught not remembering Steve Johnson won in Pro Stock Motorcycle, and Chris Thorne got his second consecutive win in NHRA Pro Mod.
So are we going to just dive? Are we going to forego everything else and go right into Pro Mod? Is that the way we want to play this?
I'm working my way. I'm working my way. Yeah, I'm working my way that direction.
All right, well, let's dive into it. We had one hell of a fiasco in that final round. It was actually a really interesting weekend as far as I'm concerned. For those that have been really following the NHRA Pro Mod series, quarter mile Pro Mod series for a hot minute here, you know that there's just been a lot of ebbs and flows to this particular part of our sport, right? We saw this series really get strong, I would say there in the late 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, just rocking and rolling, more cars than you could shake a stick at. Real Pro Mod Association kind of driving the bus, working as a liaison or kind of an organizational figure or an organizational group, a union of racers, if you will, to kind of be the go-between with the NHRA and the racers and get the series headed in the right direction. That RPM group was disbanded there right in, I believe, 2019. So, and the series was kind of turned over to the NHRA for 2020 and beyond. And by all accounts, and I've talked about this a lot here in the show, and I stand by it, hand to God, man, I'm a firm believer that somebody has to take ownership of these things, whatever it is, whether it's a business, whether it's a sanction, whether it's a series, whether it's a singular event, whether it's a particular class, which we've seen in multiple instances. Somebody has to be waving the flag. Somebody has to have their arms wrapped around it, care about it, be thinking about it day and night. And it feels like the NHRA Pro Mod series was lacking that the last few years. Fast forward to this past weekend, one of the first formal meetings of a newfound group that has kind of rallied together with a slew of different people from the NHRA Pro Mod series, from the entry list that we've seen the last few years. Many of the usual suspects have rallied together to get the class headed in the right direction right now and for the future. We saw news the last couple of weeks. Fuel Tech signs on as the title rights sponsors almost simultaneously. D-Wagon signs on, a longtime partner of Doug Winter's Pro Mod operation.
JT needs to look into those D-Wagons. Have you seen that thing? That's right up your alley, dude.
They like pull behind your golf cart deal with like seat. It's pretty sick, man. But
I've seen those. Yeah,
really, really cool. But anyways, we've seen the NHRA Pro Mod series kind of turn the corner here. We did have a 15-car field in at ZMAX, a little less than obviously anybody would like, especially with the 4-wide format. But we did see some really cool moments. It was great to see Lyle Barnett, obviously, in the final. It was great to see series newcomer Stan Shelton. And I actually dropped the ball on this during my post-weekend recap, because how about those screw blowers? The whole racing world was saying it wasn't going to work, that the rule package wasn't right, it wasn't close, we were way off. I kind of had a couple of moments with some of the NHRA brass where there was some fist bumping, and they were quite proud that Stan Shelton came out. I believe he qualified, I don't know, very well, 578, almost 250 with that screw-blown combination. So we saw almost all the possible combinations and configurations represented out at ZMAX across those 4 strips of concrete. It was a really cool weekend. Chris Thorne, as Mike said, doubles up, second straight win. Ricky Smith in the final, kind of flying the flag alongside newfound teammate Tyler Miller for the nitrous combinations. We of course had all sorts of Hemi root style supercharged cars there, Mike. But let's dive right into this final round. And do we want to bring Lyle on and start talking about this whole deal?
Let's play the video. Let's show this final round first.
Let's have him on here.
All right, Lyle. Let's bring Lyle in from the green room, ladies and gentlemen. Give it up for our boy Lyle Barnett. Clap, you guys! I want to make some noise.
What up?
Did you have to tape that snap back together? Did it bust over there a minute ago?
Listen, Mike, if I see you at Big Dog tomorrow, I'm gonna kick your feet out from underneath you.
Are you going to?
Probably, man. It's right down the road.
Oh yeah, everybody on the East Coast should go to Big Dog. I'm not getting a kickback at the gate yet, but I'm gonna hook that up later. But for real, go out, buy yourself some tickets. Lyle can probably get you some free ones from Pub 49 or whatever it was. Yeah, let's do some stuff. But real quick, Lyle, thank you for joining us. I know you've been talking about this whole situation on the internet pretty much nonstop for 48 hours or so, 72 maybe. JT, play the clip, final round, ZMAX Dragway, and then we will get your reaction to it.
Only got one trophy. Chris Thorne, Ricky Smith, Stan Shelton, Lyle Barnett.
Right. Stan.
Roll them in. Shelton double bulbs.
Yeah, so you can't tell,
backed
but
out.
And if you can hear me, I'm in the car saying, "Stop, Stan, stop, stop!" Like I can see him continuing to roll forward.
So
Shelton, he looks like he's rolling forward.
My assumption is he's lost track of what lights are hit.
He's looking at the wrong ball.
Yeah.
And Ricky hasn't even pre-staged yet, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Ricky's still rolling up.
Chad's checking the wheelie bars. I mean,
here comes Stan.
Rolled all the way through the beginning. I can't see from where I'm standing. I apologize. Looks like he sort of got back, tried to get back.
We're full on calamity at this point. All right, so
man, are you kidding me?
It'd take a lot to set there, Lyle. With all that going on.
The wild and wacky, Chris Thorne gets the win. 579. Lyle Barnett goes 599. Sheldon apparently.
Okay,
a lot going on there.
JT, pull the volume down and let it play again. And Lyle, I would really like for you to kind of take it. Don't go all the way down. Just take it down a little bit. And Lyle, will you take us through this here, like what's going on in your car?
So I'd already turned the top bulb on here and was waiting on everybody else. And I saw Stan go in, turn the second bulb on, and I was like, ballsy, but okay, first time. And then I'm like, oh, you're not done yet. So he keeps rolling, and I'm like, stop. Justin's on the radio. Lyle stands out. He's already rolled through, and he's still rolling. Like they come up try to grab the car, and he keeps rolling. Well, then all of a sudden, I see the nose of the car drop, and that thing backs up. Ricky goes in. Then Stan turns his bottom bulb back on. Ricky thinks that's his. Stan takes off, so Ricky takes off.
Yeah.
Me and Chris Thorne have been on the two-step.
So you're on the two-step for about what? How long?
10 seconds.
Forever.
Yeah,
and
4 minutes.
So, and I didn't know why it took so long for the tree to drop. And so I ran to the tower after the run and found Josh Peterson, and I'm like, dude, when Stan backed back into the bulb, did it restart the 7-second timer? And he said, no. When Stan pushed through, it took auto start out of play. Like it's no longer available. So the starter actually has to manually
flip the switch and throw the drop.
And I think there was just like everybody else, the stands, every crew member, everybody except for me and Chris Thorne, I think were totally confused as to what was going on. And I think the starter maybe forgot for a second that, oh yeah, the sound of Lyle's transmission at 90 million degrees over there probably means I should flip the switch. And, along with some other issues, which is why we slowed almost 2/10.
Well, just getting a green light on that run was a victory. I mean, I don't know how you even sat there for that long. Do you think that Stan I can't tell from that video, but a lot of times you'll just roll in too far when you're trying to find the pre-stage beam,
like
and
too
then
big
you're
of a
dangerously close to the stage beam, and then all of a sudden you're deep staged or worse. I mean, do you think that was like doomed from the start, or he was looking at the wrong?
He was looking at the wrong bulb the whole time. Okay. So if you're looking, if you're in the middle two lanes, the people talk about this all the time. You look at the wrong side of the tree, like the right bulb, but the wrong side of the tree itself. So you have to, and like, I think they'd even put a sticker in there, but it was his first final. Like, I think that those guys, the Culp Lumber and the Shelton Motorsports team, did an awesome job all weekend. Yep. Stan had 0 mess ups until the final. But he was just looking at the wrong bulb.
I think that's a good point. If you think about it, Lyle, you're in lane 2.
Yep.
And you're looking at your tree that's in the middle of your 2 lanes, but it's got 4 bulbs on it. And you're having to look at the second bulb from the left, which is on the left half of the tree, and you're in the right lane.
Right. Yeah, and so I would just, if I was in lane 2, like before I turned a bulb on, I would look to my left and right and be like, okay, I'm in lane 2, and then just stare at the bulb. I mean, you've got to, especially in the turbo car, you've got to be aware of what everybody else is doing. Wait for one person to go all the way in and then start spooling. And in the final in particular, for like a blip, everybody was in and I hadn't started. So then I grab the button and go to the wood, and then like 1's out and then 2's out, or lane 3 and then lane 2's out. And then there's no red light. There's no tree drop. So Chris Thorne and I are sitting there on the button forever. I think I had been fairly decent letting go all day long, and I think I was 150 letting go, and I think Chris Thorne
was 340.
320.
Something like that. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to wrap your head around the whole situation. And I labored over this last night. Like, trying to write about it is extremely difficult because the last thing I want to do is vilify like Stan, because as you said, Lyle, he's done a fantastic job. He's a fresh face in this series. He's a great guy. I actually just got to hang out with him a little bit and get to know him this past weekend. And Mike and I were like, this dude's made for TV. He's a great guy. He's well-spoken, clean cut. This is a great fit for the series. And he's out here with a different combination. So you hate to pile on, but is the takeaway just that these are the calamities that are going to happen when you're racing 4-wide? I mean, for me, I can't help but feel like you're almost acknowledging when you roll through the gates of a 4-wide event that this type of this is one of,
you can get at a drag race. Yes.
Yeah, man. Exactly. I mean, and I think this is, you're competing against, I had one of our senior editor at Drag Illustrated magazine, Josh Hatchett. He sent me a note. We were working on a story, and he said that the theme of Well, two things. One, that event, that final round, pretty much encapsulates every bad thing about four-wide drag racing.
Absolutely,
right? I mean, that's as bad as it can go.
It's bad.
Like we said, in a typical two-wide race, if let's say it's you and Stan in the finals, and Stan goes and does that, red light, DQ,
immediately,
race is over. You
right.
Won. But now what happens? Now what happens? You got three guys up there that you're trying to determine the winner of. So when one car has an issue like that or something happens, normally it's because it's mano y mano. The other guy,
the way God intended.
Simple. Yeah, it's simple.
Exactly.
But in this situation, how do you determine what should happen there?
I know of twice over the weekend that they had to pull out, old TI 84 plus and a pen and paper just to figure out who won the given round. Like the timing system, win lights, and everything. There you go. Everything that's available to determine the winner of a drag race was no good, and they literally had to do math to figure out who won. And are
you serious?
Yes. So
there's been times when
that's not good.
When the timing system says one thing, the win light says another, and the video says a third thing as far as who won.
I think in the final of Top Fuel there was a .491 total ET or something like that. And I don't want to sit here and bash the NHRA because I feel like they're trying things, and like NASCAR tries things all the time, and I think NASCAR's terrible, but
it is terrible. I'm going to back that up right here.
I give it to them, but four-wide racing, not for me. I feel like I have a pretty good handle on it, and I had an advantage all weekend long at the starting line because I wait till at least one person turns their bottom bulb on or is fully staged, and then I go to the wood because no matter what, anybody there can try to hang me out. It's going to take me 4 to 4.5 to get in, maybe 5, and in 7 seconds, whoever's not in is losing, and the rest of us are headed for the finish line. So I'm at a bit of an advantage because it takes me longer. I'm already ready to go whenever I do get in, and everybody else then has to realize, oh crap, Lyle's in. Now we have to go to the wood. Sidney Frigo went 578 in round 1 and lost on a double hole shot to me and Belushi. And I think for the very reason that whenever I went in, he just wasn't ready. He wasn't just barely had a little bit of throttle open already on the trans brake, and he lost because of it. But if had it been a normal final round, Stan Shelton probably wins on Sunday. Probably. You couldn't. He was excellent on the tree all weekend. That thing ran in the high 570s every lap with the exception of 1 or maybe 2 runs, I think, out of a total of 7. So, I think Stan Shelton wins. In Charlotte, had it been a
okay, let's talk two things. First and foremost, there's no fix for this, right? We had a pre-show meeting yesterday, and it actually got pretty heated between Mike, JT, and Deanne. We were all getting a little bit argumentative because my argument is what are we going to do? They're not going to bulldoze those 2 lanes at ZMAX. They're not going to bulldoze those 2 lanes in Vegas. I think this reminds me like a stick and ball sports of, what was it? Wasn't there a pass interference call that cost New Orleans Saints like a Super Bowl?
Yeah, the Rams
NFC Championship
or NFC Championship game. Yeah. So, I think that there are these human mess up moments that I don't know that we can ever make go away. I don't know how you make Lyle Barnett feel good about what happened. I sure as hell don't know how you make Ricky Smith feel good about what happened. I don't think you can. And I also recognize that I don't think the NHRA is I don't think there's any turning back on 4-wide drag racing. I think that there's more of a likelihood they do it more than do it less. I hope that's not the case. I really do. I'm here to say I get it. I understand the investment's been made, can't go backwards. But I'm not a fan of it. I get it because I want to also just weave in here that I don't think the fan turnout really reflected what we've seen historically from ZMAX, right? Mike, for weeks and weeks and weeks right here, has told us that, the spring race really brings them out. The 4-wide thing, fans come out, it's a different deal, and you come back in the fall in September, and it's like, man, where the is everybody? Yeah. And I kind of felt like it was September. I'm going, And this thing doesn't seem to have the buzz that it historically has. So anyways, I'm not sure what to make. Do you have a quick fix, or do you have an idea? Did you have a suggestion, Lyle, or you just hate 4-wide now?
My suggestion would be to stop racing 4-wide.
I knew.
Go back to the way that God intended on us to drag race. I get it. and like I said, like, I'm not saying that because 4-wide calls me to lose on Sunday. Like, I feel like I have it figured out pretty good. And if we were to race 4-wide 2 or 3 times a year, I think that we would probably do pretty well. But I don't like it. And for the most part, fans that came by the trailer, those that responded to my post, which I'm so thankful that you guys didn't have a show Sunday afternoon, because I would have said things that I would have regretted. I did call.
We had that on a FaceTime.
We had a show,
and I was not.
My phone's ringing FaceTime from Lyle Barnett, and I've got like suitcases. I've only got one arm, and I'm like, well, this would be really, really, really entertaining. But fortunately, it sounds like JT and Mike caught. But
I haven't. Of all the people that have responded to that and/or just told me in general how they feel about 4-wide drag racing, there's been one person, and I can't remember the name, that has been like, man, don't ruin it for the fans. Like, it's so cool to see 4 power adders line up at one time, which I don't disagree. But like the final round in Pro Modified, especially on Sunday, was so anticlimactic. Like, it was such a letdown. There were cars everywhere, one way out front. One realized he had messed up. 2 of us blazed down the outside and have actually a pretty good race. Chris beat me by 300ths and outran me by 2/10. So
the last 2 cars are first and second.
I look at this slide and I do recognize, like, and this isn't every power adder represented, but it is, there is some visual appeal to it, right? You know what I mean? Like the old red and black Camaro down there with the twin turb skis. We got a couple of Pro Charger cars and a nitrous car. We got some fresh faces. We got some, young youth, new blood and enthusiasm with a couple of veterans, a couple of former champions. I do think that an argument can be made that it's really, really cool. But I had a conversation with someone this morning. Oh, Brett Hoare, our buddy from Australia. He said to me, it's over so quick. He goes, especially when there's 15 cars in Pro Mod. He's like, by the time I got out of the tower and like up to the starting line, it's pretty much over.
The round's over, and then the race is over. On Sunday, the race is over like hours before it typically would be, because you've got a round less.
Car count has never shows up more in those pro classes than at the 4-wide. Like, having 15 funny cars, having 15 pro mods, it's a problem, bro. And I don't really know. Sorry about that, guys. I guess my TV decided to computer.
I like that background. Oh, that was
my computer decided to restart and install
travel
an update
destinations
here. We'll just leave it. Right, it looks actually pretty good.
I think that for me, going back to what you said, is that when you roll through the gates of a 4-wide race, it's sort of a, hey, anything can happen here this weekend. Sort of like racing on dirt at Bristol. Like, I'm sure there's half the NASCAR field that would prefer it to be paved, because that's what they are prepared for, right? And then then the other half are like, yes, this gives me an opportunity. And I feel like that's what 4-wide does more than anything. I think we saw it in the other classes too, like Cameron Ferret making it to the final round.
This has been Mike's argument. Yeah, Mike's argument all week long
is that it levels the playing field and creates opportunity for people that may not otherwise have that, like a Cameron Ferret. Corey Mahalik, he's a low budget top alcohol dragster team. He's got 2 career victories. One of them came this weekend. The other one was also in Charlotte at the 4-wide. And I think that not taken away from either of those guys, but they'll tell you they're low budget, underfunded, and out there, knife at a gunfight type of situation most times. But the weirdness of 4-wide presents those guys that are stellar drivers, etc., an opportunity to go to a final or to win.
There's a couple of things, because whenever you think about the television broadcast specifically, having less racing to show, I do think, I know that there's hardcores that are like, oh, we need more racing, more action, more action. I do think it can be argued that when you have less on-track action, that's where you get Brian Loans eating chicken wings with Ron Capps. It opens the door
that was
for
a
some
fantastic
of that.
Segment,
Huge shout out to NHRA on Fox, Brian Loans and Ron Capps for being willing to be a part of that. And that's kind of like shoulder programming. That's that supporting stuff that gives you a peek behind the veil, introduces you to these characters. And I think it's really important, but I don't know that it can come. The way to get it, in my opinion, the way to get that additional time on television is not running them 4-wide. part of me, I think about how many times I've heard a race fan tell me that they don't go on elimination day, they go on qualifying day because they want to make sure they get to see their favorite driver run 2 times or 3 times or whatever it is. And they don't want, because how often does it happen? Your favorite driver or the guy you're here to see goes out in first round, and now you're eliminating even more cars in first round by way of 4-wide drag racing. I know that I don't want to like beat a dead horse, right? But I do think it's fun to have an opinion and everybody to air them out. I don't know that was a shining example of what 4-wide can be, right? I mean, there were some great moments, right?
I think 4-wide is a spectacle for Nitro.
Yeah.
I think Nitro 4-wide is what the majority of the fans are there to see. For all the other classes, I think it does them a disservice. But for the spectacle of 4 fuel classes or 4 fuel cars lined up and just the noise and vibration and just sensory overload that is, from my experience, being in the stands with fans or hanging out with fans, that's what they're there to see.
What if you qualified? What if you qualified?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. What if you qualified that way
and then race the right way?
Yeah. And then you went to eliminations and you brought it down to 2.
But I mean,
that never even crossed my mind. Okay, well, let's do this. Let's table the 4-wide conversation because we could talk about it a lot more. I want to talk about 2 things with Lyle before we have to part company here. But Lyle, real quick, give us your take on the lay of the land. I mean, all the talk at the track on Saturday and Sunday was, hey, the Pro Mod group has had a lot of good meetings, a lot of positive things happening. The series is funded, lots of money headed toward the pockets of racers. A lot to celebrate. We saw the screw type supercharger show some promise, more than some promise, show a whole lot of promise and a whole lot of performance potential this past weekend. You're obviously out there in the final with a turbo car. Many of the usual suspects, Justin Bond, Jose Gonzalez, Khaled Al-Belushi, Stevie Jackson making another uncharacteristically early exit. I think that's worth noting. Look, give me some of your thoughts. What do you make of like Stevie Jackson's early struggles here?
They've had a bit of a kind of change up in the whole team aspect over there. So I think you're seeing just a little bit of the struggle of just regrouping. I wouldn't count Stevie out. I never would, never will. If there's anybody that can find a way to win, it's that dude. And you'll see them bounce back. They're just going through some growing pains right now, and it's something they'll come back from. But something that I think is worth noting that I still see. I actually just saw somebody commenting on it this week, is the whole rumor around the NHRA Pro Mod class and us as racers and drivers in the class are racing for nothing, and that is not true. The class is funded. Fuel Tech and D-Wagon came on board to sponsor the class for the entire 2022 season. Adam Lambert and everybody at PRS was the presenting sponsor at ZMAX this past weekend. We have a presenting sponsor going into Virginia that I don't think they've announced yet. Maybe they haven't. I've missed it. But the class is funded. And not only is it funded, it is the richest and best paying sanctioning body for Pro Modified in existence today. I don't mean that one, I'm sure there's somebody out there that like Victor Alvarez pays $50,000 once a year, for one race. But as a sanctioning body on a per race deal, it is the best paying to the winner and then back through. I mean, it pays all the way back to the quarterfinals and maybe a first round. But overall, NHRA Pro Mod pays the best right now. And so I think that when we went to Gainesville and the whole rumor was there that we were racing for nothing, it killed us. It hurt. Well,
bad. let's call a spade here. This is a classic example of bad news travels fast, right? Yep. I mean, when there's a rumor circulating, and part of this is human psychology, people don't understand that this is a very natural human behavior. Back 1,000 years ago, bad news traveled fast then too, because it was a self-preservation thing. Like if there's a buffalo headed towards the camp, you got to tell everybody to protect everyone, right? Mm-hmm. But we have maintained that, unfortunately, as a society, that's part of our DNA, is to share bad news. And I was really bummed out when that whole deal happened in Gainesville, because I was bummed out that that whole situation existed in the first place. Yep. But I was also really disappointed that it became such a fucking news story, because I'm looking around going, who's this helping? It's sure as hell not helping the racers, sure as hell not helping the NHRA, making the racers look like buffoons, right? Like they're willing to race for nothing, like make them look like a bunch of saps. And then you create this. I mean, if anybody Googled it, or if anybody started looking about the series on social media, all you're seeing is boo-hoo and bad news. This is not the play for the series. And now, granted, I do think we have to talk about these things. We have to discuss them. But that's something that we pride ourselves on here is we're out here to present. We've got some ideas. We got some solutions. We'll ring some phones. We'll try to help, you know. And I'm not saying we got them all. Most of the time we're wrong probably. But anyways, I'm all for discussion. But where's the back end of that? Everybody was so quick to post on social that the Pro Mod guys and NHRA were racing for nothing in Gainesville, but to the best of my knowledge, Drag Illustrated is like that's the only place I'm seeing. And I'm not trying to make this about us. It's not. I'm just saying I wish people were as willing to spread good news and spread cheer and positivity, because to your point, man, there's going to be a 25,000 to win winner take all Pro Mod shootout announced later
from the race.
Separate from the race. Right. I mean, that's the biggest payout shootout in the history of NHRA Pro Mod. Yep. And so there's big things happening, and a multitude of people, Justin Elks, Eric Dillard, Debbie O'Rourke, Doug Winters, Mike Janis Jr., Stevie Jackson. There's a whole bunch of people, yourself, Lyle, who have all rallied together to try. Luis De Leon and Anderson Dick from Fuel Tech, obviously. There's been a whole bunch of people rally together to make sure this money doesn't go to some crazy, arbitrary, weird-ass line item on an NHRA invoice somewhere. It's actually going to drag racers. So now this is the big moment for the NHRA Pro Mod series, the Fuel Tech NHRA Pro Mod drag racing series. And from what I understand, they've got all but one race sold for the rest of the season, and they've already got most of 23 locked in, or they're working on 23. So this is a really, really good moment that I hope that good news spreads around. I hope some people are watching this and going, you know what? Maybe we should post on social that the NHRA Pro Mod drag racing series
that's what we're hoping for.
Series in Pro Mod.
Well, that's what we're hoping for. You know, and the rumor of us racing for $0 in Gainesville was not true. There was a purse. You know, it may not have been the best paying, but there was money to race for it when we were in Gainesville, unlike the majority of the, you know, people that were spreading the rumors around the internet and whatnot that we were there racing for nothing. We were all a bunch of idiots, you know, and there were people that I saw on the internet talking about, well, there's only 15 cars at ZMAX because they're out there racing for nothing, you know, which is not true either. You know, so I hope that, you know, the NHRA and people that matter and people that are paid attention to will start to talk about the good that's going on there right now. We had a really good meeting with the NHRA early Saturday morning before Q3 up in the suites in the John Force grandstands at ZMAX, you know, and there was a lot of positive feedback from the NHRA. They were open to listen to us. Cromwell was there. Ned was there. You know, everybody that mattered and that makes the decisions on behalf of us was there, you know, and I felt like it went really well. They were receptive. They responded to our ideas, whether good and or bad. So I feel like we're headed in the right direction, but you know, one thing that they did ask is what do we do about the car count, you know, and I think it's going to take a minute. Like there's no overnight fix for that. There was the
news of the purse, and I think this Stan Shelton with the screw blower, now that's out there. Yep. I think those things will start to work in their favor.
This right here, guy. I mean, this right here, positivity, dude. Yep. This shit, it's infectious. The same way if you hire a guy that's like a prick and he's always in a bad mood, it will permeate the whole business.
Like JT, that's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. It's what we have with JT. We run into this a lot. But it's like that kind of attitude and that kind of belief system and outlook, it's pervasive. Like it will get in, it will infect everybody. And the opposite is true. If we're all wound up like Physic Woodpeckers, we're all excited, we're all screaming, you know, shouting from the rooftops about how great this is, people will just accept that to be the truth, even if it's not. I mean, as a future reference, hey man, if you keep this deal positive and you keep the enthusiasm and optimism up and you keep that messaging consistent, you don't have to deal with moments like
perception is reality.
People spread bad news
People spread
Well, and
bad
that's
news,
like
eight
what
times as much as good news.
Yeah.
what happened in Gainesville and
That's
the
look at
rumor.
Facebook. That's
The
Facebook
rumor
as always.
surrounding what happened at Facebook hurt worse. Like it's kind of like your credit score, right? Like you can kill it in a heartbeat, take you forever to build it back up. And that's the same thing with what the general rumor in the rumor mill that was going around when we rolled into Gainesville. Like it hurt, man. And it may hurt for a year for all we know. Like it may take a year of us every once a month or twice a month getting on here and talking about, hey, the payout was great. Car count's on the way up. We may have to do it all year long before we see 25 cars roll into Gainesville.
Well, and here's the reminder. I think a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves. And I'm one of these folks that that the story needs to be different or the conversation needs to be fresh. No, just say the same shit over and over. Keep telling the same story, because the same story, not everybody's heard it. And even the people that have heard it need to hear it again. The Fuel Tech NHRA Pro Mod Drag Racing Series presented by D-Wagon, in my opinion, has been and will likely be for a long time the final frontier for fast Doorslammer drag racing. It is the ultimate proving ground. It stands alone as the last remaining, at least to my knowledge, quarter-mile Doorslammer Pro Mod racing venue, and we need to treat it with reverence, right? We need to look at that. We want to create an atmosphere where the stars and cars of the PDRA want to be there, right? Not because it's better than PDRA. It's different. It serves a much different purpose. And I think you want to create an environment where the NMCA folks, because not everybody wants to go to every NHRA national event. I mean, who wants to part? I mean, I note. I mean, and I really like this shit. I don't want to go on Tuesday, be there all week. I get it. And that doesn't fit a lot of racers' operational approach, right? They're weekend guys and they need to be back at work. But you got to create that excitement and that buzz and that enthusiasm so that when the NHRA rolls into Charlotte, you get some of those East Coast PDRA
and
guys.
We need them. We need the 3 to 4 regional racers that we are missing across the country so bad, because right now the same 15 of us that were in Charlotte are going to be maybe the only ones. Occasionally, I think we're going to pick up some, but you're kind of just going to see the same 15 roll around the country. And like next week, not this weekend, but next weekend, which is I'm as excited to go here as I've been to go to any racetrack, and I go there all the time. But we're going to Virginia Motorsports Park, the house that Tommy and Judy Franklin have rebuilt, and they've brought Tyler Crossnow in to run the show there, and it is an awesome place. I was there for No Prep Kings a few weeks ago, and we talked about it on here. The place was electric, right? And I'm excited to go there, but I'm afraid that we may have not even or barely a full field again. And I still think that it's just the residual awfulness coming from what's happened at the beginning of the year, but hopefully I'm wrong. Maybe. Well, I mean,
challenge. Let's send the challenge out, man. I mean, we really need the sport. And I don't say this. Well, real quick, let me dive into I want to pay some bills here. JT, hook me up, man. I'd like to take take a minute to remind you all that the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by our friends at Redline Synthetic Oils. Redline has a reputation with racers and hardcore enthusiasts for creating products that perform and protect better than any other on the market. And they've been doing it since 1979. Whether it's your race car, your tow rig, your motorcycle, or your lawnmower, when you think about lubricants, you need to think about Redline. For more information, log on to redlineoil.com. Guys, Lyle, Mike, JT, I am curious, what can we do as a group? Is it issuing a challenge? Is it we have to create an environment where people want to go? It's like having a long line outside of a restaurant. That always piques my interest, right? When you have to wait in line, or there's a 20-minute wait when you roll up, I'm going,
Yeah,
I bet they got some strong crack cocktails. I bet they got some good food.
Like we talked about, whenever they had the waiting list and people were just like diving in there as soon as someone was out to take their spot, that's when it was the strongest. And I think we do have to get back to that point.
And here's a reminder, Lyle, I'd love to hear your opinion on this because of your relationship with modern racing out there in Mooresville, North Carolina. This class, and I have said it before, but kind of taking my own advice and repeating the message, Pro Mod, especially at that NHRA level, it really drives the bus for a lot of businesses in our industry. I mean, look no further than the Pro Lines, the Moderns, the RK Racecrafts, all these shops, all building turbo systems, outfitting cars, wiring cars. This is a really, really important class for the sport of drag racing that we need to be successful, right, Lyle?
Yeah, I agree 100%. Justin talks about it all the time that, you know, for us, there's a long line and a strong support system that comes from this class alone, right? You know, like we need NHRA Pro Mod, we need the PDRA, we need the NMCA, we need the Midwest Pro Mod guys, we need them all, you know, but the NHRA Pro Mod class being, as you call it, the final frontier is important. You know, like it is the pinnacle. I've said it a couple times over the past few weeks. It's like Major League Baseball and AAA. You know, like you have to have this final frontier and this place for us as professional drag racers to strive to get to, right? And it feeds businesses like ours. I mean, you walk around the pits, if there's a Pro Charge combination there, more than likely it's got a Pro Line bullet in it. You know, if it's roots blown, it's got one of two. It's either got Chuck Ford stuff on it or Mike Janis's stuff on it. You know, it's got Pat Musey's stuff in it. And with the exception of No Prep Kings, I think there's a more of an allegiance of fan that show up there and see that and go home and look it up on Facebook and give them a like and a follow. Or maybe they're in the process of building a car and they want what Chris Thorne has, or they want what Stevie Jackson has, or they're going to follow Father Time Ricky Smith and go to Pat Musey and get something, you know. So I think it's super important that we stay around, and it's super important that we stay the quarter mile fastest door slammers, you know, that run in any given sanctioning body. So you know, I think that us being here and being there is important, you know, and I think that it is important that did they show the final round on FS1 on Sunday? I heard they did, but I haven't watched it. Do y'all know that for
real?
A fact? Did they show that?
I didn't think they did.
Somebody told me that, and so we had this conversation in the meeting, you know, and I've said it a couple times.
Doug's in the green room.
Doug,
I think he just shook his head.
know.
Yes, he's also drinking a frosty mug.
Doug,
What's in the mug?
Without us?
Well, I started your happy hour a little early, so you're interrupting our team meeting we have once a week on Wednesday afternoons. So,
I'm so sorry.
But it was on FS1 then, Doug?
yeah, it was on FS1.
Okay.
Yeah, they showed it right at the end of the TV broadcast, so it was after the finals of Fuel and Funny Car, but still, they showed us. They highlighted the class. They showed the final, all the screw ups. And then they announced that, you know, you can check this out on the FS2 on Monday the 19th at 8:30. So they did highlight that. Yes.
Oh, cool.
I mean, that's a great plug. And ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the man of the hour here, Doug Winters. We didn't even get a chance to do my big promotional introduction. JT, you got to start clapping.
Bring him back in.
Son of a, yeah, bring him out and bring him back in. But you got to clap. Yeah. Wow. All right, ladies and gentlemen, from deep in the heart of the Carolinas, the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only driver of the Steinar, I believe, currently, right? 69 Chevelle Pro Mod, the one and only Doug Winters. Give it up.
Woo! Yeah. Woo! All right. Yeah.
What's up, dude? Well, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. And one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on, Doug, is because, man, talk about a usual suspect. As long as I've been paying attention to NHRA Pro Mod, you have been a part of it. I'm curious, can you just give us like your off-the-cuff kind of perspective on where this deal has started, where it's gone, where it's at now? I mean, how do you feel about this deal? You've seen it as a full-blown, what would you call it, exhibition series, right? 8 cars only, whatever, all the way to turning people away, and now to the situation we find ourselves in now. What's your perspectives on Pro Mod?
I think it's gone in cycles with NHRA, with Pro Mod. You know, we've had our highs, we've had our lows. I think Gainesville is obviously a low, and like Lyle was talking about, but I think we're trending toward high, and I think it's going to be one of the best series that you can participate as far as if you got a Pro Mod car and you want to come out and get all the excitement of NHRA and all the marketing ability that NHRA brings to the show. I think we're trending high, and I'm really excited about it.
I'm genuinely excited about it as well. Can you tell us a little bit, Doug, about how D-Wagon, I know that's one of your sponsors, it's part of that Steinar family of companies. Can you take us a little bit through kind of your involvement in that, and what's it feel like? Do you have clearly a sense of ownership? Because I don't know that that's something that you see in every sanction and series where the participants are out rallying the troops and raising sponsor dollars, but that's been something that it's been kind of part of your program since I met you.
Yeah, and so I brought my own philosophy of gaining sponsorships to the Pro Mod series, right? So, you know, it was a standpoint to where Steiner he wanted to help us out. He wanted to help the Pro Mod series out. Craig Huckelberg, he's always been with me. Now he's wanting to try to help the Pro Mod series, but he's still a marketeer, right? So he wants to see a benefit from doing this. He already has us as a Steiner representation there that we invite customers in and VIPs from the local area to participate when the drag races. So he wanted to use something else. Well, he just bought this company called D-Wagon. So from a perspective of, let's see how I can multiply the advantages associated with marketing with NHRA. So he wanted to use D-Wagon. Neat product, you know, I'm hoping that everybody understands what it is, and we'll get there sooner or later, but he wanted to use it, to utilize it, to give the money to NHRA to utilize the marketing ability of NHRA has. So that's what the plan was, and I think we're on a big roll right now with the D-Wagon. So, you know, he's not only helping us out as a Pro Mod association or committee to get the racing to NHRA Pro Mod to be funded, he's gaining aspects of it as well. So, you know, hats off to NHRA and Steiner and Craig to helping us out to make all this stuff work.
It's awesome. And explain to everybody what a D-Wagon is. I don't know the web address off the top of my head, but essentially it's a pull behind cart, right, with seats on it.
Yeah, exactly. I call it a people carrier. So, you know, you think about golf cart communities, you think everybody says, well, Brainerd, this thing's going to be off the hook at the zoo, right? So basically it hooks behind a golf cart and it looks like a golf cart, but there's no motorization to it whatsoever. So it's basically either a 1, 2-seater, 4-seater, they even have 6-seaters with coolers on board or whatever the case may be. We were at nighttime at the ZMAX, we were riding around, pulling one around called the Camo. So it's all dressed in camos, got fishing poles on it, gun racks, a whole 9 yards. So it's just an aspect of hook behind a golf cart that you can utilize to take more people and all your stuff that you can't fit on a golf cart.
Pretty amazing, man. There we go.
JT's got to get one of these. JT is a golf cart aficionado.
Dude, I basically have one, but it's an alcohol wagon. I don't know if you've seen it.
He has a rolling bar that he literally
has a wet
with.
bar in the back and then a cooler.
Oh, there you go. Well, the cool thing, these have coolers, right? They have coolers, and you can get them outfitted with all kind of different stuff.
I think I could pull tandem though. You know.
Well,
why not, man? UPS does it.
Yeah. Hey, there's an option for the D-Wagon to have another hitch on the back of the other D-Wagon.
There we go.
You can actually make these things tandem or triples, whatever you want to do.
That's just what JT needs.
Yeah, I'd have it rolled.
JT would have it barrel rolled in no time flat. Kind of closing Pro Mod questions, guys, real quick. And Doug, I'd like to get your and Lyle's perspective on this. One of the biggest happenings, in my opinion, over the offseason was the introduction of the screw-blown combination to the NHRA Pro Mod Drag Racing Series. And this is something that, man, there was a lot of people, by all accounts, this wasn't something that the racers were super in favor of. It happened regardless. Here we are now. We saw this past weekend, perhaps the first evidence that this could really be a competitive combination. Let's go to you first. Lyle, I haven't heard you say much, but as a turbo racer, it doesn't necessarily, you're not going to change anything, right? You're committed to your platform, but I'm just curious, what's the rumblings that you're hearing? Do you think, what was the talk in the pits this past weekend about the performance of Stan Shelton's late model Mustang?
Overall, it was pretty quiet. Like there wasn't a bunch of people all fired up and pissed off, but especially the following day, which would have been Monday, names like Todd Tutterow and stuff were very surprised because he was one that I've talked to about it, and there's no way it's going to work. And that's what we all thought. Jason Scruggs tried it for like a day or two and didn't really have much success. And the general consensus across the board was that rule package just flat out will not work. And I was testing at Darlington, I think the first day that Stan and them had brought that combination to the racetrack, and they struggled bad. And we were like, well, everybody was right. That thing's not going to go down the racetrack. And then we heard that the following day or the next week, they went back and had a lot of success. And then they showed up in Charlotte and flat out got it done. I think that what I was afraid of at first was that you would see this mass switch. All the blower guys are going screw blower racing now, right? And maybe some of the Pro Charge guys that are tired of going that direction or whatever are going to switch over as well, but I haven't heard anything other than everybody is surprised Everybody, for the most part, think that the NHRA has it in a good spot where they can make small adjustments if needed to bring it back in or give it a little more or whatever they think they need to do. So, I mean, I think it's good. I think that at a time where we were struggling to get car count, there's probably some screw-blown guys out there that may come over and give it a try. Stan, like I said earlier, Stan ran really well. I don't think he made but like a couple of runs out of the 370s. So
I mean, he went 579 in the opening round at 248. That was an impressive run. Picked it up a little bit in E2, went 578 at 249. Doug, as a longtime roots blower guy that has really invested heavily time and energy in that particular combination, are you as warm and fuzzy about this screw blower as some others?
I've run them in the past. We've been around for a long time, so I've run them in the past. And be frank with you, we got one on order. And to see that you can run with that combination, I think by the end of the year, you're going to see at least half of the roots blowers switch over to screw blowers before the end of the year is out. Now, I don't think that was the intention of NHRA. Maybe it was to get rid of some type of lease program from roots blower guys, but we own our blower, so from that perspective, it's not going to help out. It's going to cost us money. But from the perspective of seeing Petty and Stan doing that, I mean, it's impressive. I didn't think they could do it. Knowing how a screw blower at 75 over and a 390 gear, nobody really thought that you could be running in the 70s with that thing. So, it just gives us all, I guess, hope, if you will. I mean, a screw blower charge associated with the output of it doesn't take up near the horsepower that a roots blower does when you turn it. And the charge that you get from there is, the heat wise, is nothing near what a roots is. So the fuel that you're putting to the thing doesn't have to be, it doesn't get really hot before it gets into the cylinder. The compression of the screw keeps it has a cool boost. So it's the way to go. I mean, these guys with a 390 gear and Stan's running 248 or 247, he's only going like 92, 9,300 RPM going through the finish line. I'm turning 10.4 going through the finish line right now.
1,000 RPM spread. I mean, holy crap.
Yeah, and that's the difference between a 390 gear and a 456 gear. So, so it just makes sense from even a standpoint of attrition and the amount of times that you got to change the rods and change the valve springs and all that. It just makes sense to do it. If you can see that you're competitive with the roots blowers, which Stan showed that, and Steve Petty showed that. So there you go.
It's a really interesting thing. How do you think that combination, from what I understand, and Mike and I swung by and talked to Stan for a little bit, they're not necessarily out here to make a full NHRA poll. I asked him, are you going to all these deals? And maybe after going to the final, maybe that'll change his tune and we'll see him at all of them. But do you suspect, I mean, are we going to see screw cars at the very next one?
No, it's too early, right? So they don't have a week and a half to get there. So no, you won't see that. But, maybe by Indy, I think you may see some screw combinations, especially in the heat too, right? So we can think, not only have I got a cooler charge, now when it gets hot outside, it's even going to be better than a roots. So I think you'll see the screws by Indy starting to show up.
Stan will be in Virginia though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he will.
A lot of Stan's schedule depends on pulling, right, in the summer and stuff. So he's got a balance between all that.
Right. And
what's the likelihood? Go ahead, Doug.
I've heard talk, even though Stan might not be in the car seat, they may be somebody in the seat.
They should have Steve Petty drive it. He tunes it, right? Well, hey, what's the likelihood, or is it even possible that we see? So the thing about the PSI screw blower, that's a sealed unit, right? So is there any future where people start making their own? Is that a thing that has to be kind of thought about, or is that something that people would even attempt?
It's got to be thought about. And, I had the same conversation with NHRA. I'm like, you can do things to screw chargers as well as you can do to roots, right? It's just, you don't pull it out of the box and sit it on the motor and turn it at 75 and you're done. There's things you can do, and they realize that. So, it's still going to be coming with its regulations and rules to check and certify that the thing has not been altered in any fashion before they stick it on the car and run an NHRA.
So if we had to identify, I think there have been various eras, right, of various eras of NHRA Pro Mod specifically. There's been various eras of Pro Mod, but specifically the NHRA series, do you feel, I feel like we're kind of in the era right now, or have been the last 2 or 3 years, of centrifugal superchargers, right? Pro Charger, I mean, every time you talk to somebody, it's mentioned. There's a new one coming out of a shop every time you blink. The Pro Charger era of Pro Mod. Do you think the Roots blower era is coming to a close? I mean, will this make that combination largely go away?
So I don't know if it'll make it go away, but what it may do is give a rule change to the Roots, right? We used to run 16 overdrive, if you remember, like, I don't know, three or 4 years
long ago. Yeah,
3 years ago, we used to run 16 overdrive, and they knocked us down to 14 and a half. I think if you see everybody start switching to screw blower, they may give the Roots blower 16 overdrive just to stay on level playing field associated with the screw blower. But, you know, who knows? I mean, the PM committee, the Pro Mod committee, along with NHRA, it's a great working relationship now between the two. So, you know, we've got on the Pro Mod committee, we got one of each power adder there. So, you know, it helps to understand what's going on from the technology standpoint and from NHRA's data gathering to determine from the statistics what each power adder is doing versus what the rules are.
It's going to be fun to watch. I mean, I love these storylines, and a little wrinkle in the program never hurt anything. Guys, before I let you go, kind of closing things here with this Pro Mod conversation, put a bow on it. Lyle, I want to hear from you briefly. Just let's give a plug to you. You had a local restaurant, one of your old college stomping grounds, step up and support you this past weekend. Was it a well-received experience? What was it like racing in your hometown or near, you know, kind of your hometown track? What was that whole experience like? And we'll cut you loose.
Yeah, you know, whenever I had my crash back in 2015, that Pub 49, the little bar in Harrisburg, stepped up and did a bunch of fundraising stuff for me and really helped out a bunch through that time. And I tried, you know, over the course of the past 6.5 years to give back and try to help those people back out. So I went to the NHRA early this year and I said, look, especially in Charlotte, I'd like to choose a local business, preferably this one, you know, a restaurant, and offer a discounted ticket for anybody that goes in there and eats or grabs a beer or a drink or whatever. They can scan a QR code and get a discount on tickets. And, you know, I mean, not a bash at the NHRA, but I just kind of didn't figure it would happen. And they did it, you know, and they allowed me to do it. So, you know, it's always fun to race at home, and then to be able to kind of support a local business that has supported me before was cool. You know, losing in the final there hurt a little worse because I was at home. Obviously much better than last year. I DNQ'd here last year. So a complete turnaround there, but would love to have brought the win home while I was at home. I had all my family there. All of my friends were there. You know, we had a pit full, but it's still cool to be out there. We made a final round, got a runner-up finish, and we're currently second in the points. So,
can't hardly beat it.
I can't, you know, I can't be too down about it. You know, I could have been 300s better letting go, or the car could have ran 395 instead of 399 and we'd have won it. But, you know, you gotta chalk that one up and move on to Virginia next week. We're looking forward to going there. It's like I said, I'm looking as forward to going to VMP as I have anywhere in a long time.
Well, and as for much as you're hard on for quarter mile racing, you keep saying 399. You're stuck on eighth mile digit.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Close enough. Yeah,
my God. All right, last thing, Lyle, and thank you guys again. Doug, I want to give you an opportunity here real quick just to plug your sponsors and the people that have stepped up and been a part of this program. It's awesome to see you have had this continued presence. You're a fantastic ambassador for the sport of drag racing. What's on the horizon for you? How excited are you about Virginia? You got to feel good about your program and everything that's going on.
Yeah, like normal. We had a ton of people at Charlotte, a lot of fans and friends, but you know, family as well, and a lot of customers as well. So you know us. That's where our bread's buttered, to make sure that our customers are there from a Steiner perspective. But I would like to mention, you know, from a Pro Mod standpoint, from NHRA, like Lyle was talking about earlier before I joined the show, you know, our goal is, in which we're almost there, is to have a $35,000 purse at each one of these races. So, we start with 35,000, and you're going to get, 10,000 to win, and you're going to get your entry fee paid if you qualify. So, from a perspective of trying to get this class to where it used to be with 18, 20 plus cars, that's what our goal is, and that's what we're looking for. And with the help with Steiner and D-Wagon and Fuel Tech, and a lot of other companies out there, we're getting there. If you look at the numbers, we're at $400,000 promised to get us through the years, which Pro Mod class in the nation can say that right now. Mm-hmm. So if we can offer 35,000, we're going to have the D-Wagon shootout you guys talked about at Brainerd. The format is still to be worked on right now, but when you think about Brainerd, we're going to have 35,000 for the purse, and we're going to have 25,000 for the shootout. We're going to have $60,000 available for Pro Mod entries available at Brainerd when you roll in the gate. So, the things are looking up, and thanks to Fuel Tech and D-Wagon and all these companies out there that are participating, we're looking. It's all looking up for it now for Pro Mod.
It's exciting, man. And I appreciate you guys coming here and spreading some good news. It's really important and a big reminder to all of us how much of a difference this type of positivity can really make for one of these series or an individual event. We gotta work as hard to spread the good news as we seem to when it's something bad. Doug Winters, Lyle Barnett, thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you at Virginia.
Yep.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Drink up, Doug.
Drink up, Doug. I gotta get a cocktail.
Craig Kruckberg, I think that's how you say it. We actually met him. He supported World Doorslammer Nationals. And JT and I had a late night with him one night.
Shocking.
No.
He's a good dude, man. We had a good time.
I sent somebody I called an ambulance on one of my buddies Friday night. Yeah, he just went unresponsive at Smitty's. And I was like, uh-oh.
This past Friday.
Went unresponsive?
Yeah, I picked his head up and there was nothing there, man, in his eyes. I was like, so then he finally came to a little bit, got him outside and did it again. And
would you give him a Jaeger bomb?
May have been the first time.
EpiPen.
Oh, he'd had plenty to drink, yeah. But I think it may have been the first time I've ever called the ambulance on one of my buddies.
I shouldn't be laughing. I mean, I should be horrified, but when it's associated with you, I can't, it's somewhat comical. Sorry.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, real quick, I'd like to remind you that the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by our friends at FlowRacing.com. If you're a drag racer or a drag racing fan, you got to get on board with Flow Racing. The world leader in sports live streaming, Flow Racing provides unlimited access to drag racing's biggest events like Donald Long's Lights Out, No Mercy, and Sweet 16, every stop on the PDRA and NMCA tours, Funny Car Chaos, World Cup Finals, Street Car Super Nationals, and much, much more. The coolest part, you can watch this thing on virtually any device, your phone, your Roku, smart TV, what have you, and it's all available at flowracing.com. Log on to flowracing.com/drag illustrated to take advantage of a special offer and join the movement. Guys, we've got a whole lot of drag racing left to cover, but we got a special guest in the green room, and this is waiting patiently. I was a little worried she might not come, or I was like, oh no, is she going to show up? Because now she's on a publicity tour, right? I think tonight she's going to do the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
She's got a lot going on.
Busy. So
these guys are drag racing or working on something 24/7.
Going to school,
ladies and gentlemen.
Student.
Oh, she is a full-time college student, right?
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, after a incredible, I believe, historic moment this past weekend at the PDRA Doorslammer Derby, which, side note, great name. We really need to put some oomph on that. Like, that's a great name for an event, great time of year. I'm here for it. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the first ever all-female final in PDRA Pro 632, second-generation drag racing superstar, former Drag Illustrated cover star alongside her father, as well as a member of our Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30, the one and only Amber Franklin. Amber, what's going on? How are you? Congratulations.
I'm good. How are you guys? Thank you.
Awesome. Good.
I don't even know where to begin on this. We're such big fans, especially of young racers, people that are doing it right, putting in their time, doing these things as a part of a family. How much did you ever expect this to happen so fast? I mean, we got to know you a little bit behind the wheel of a junior dragster, right? You move into top dragster, have success there. You're driving a fast car, but now all of a sudden you've been thrust into what is basically, I I would say a mini Pro Mod, essentially, right? An extremely fast, low 4-second door car, and you're already in the winner's circle right at the beginning of your first full-time season in the deal. Are you at all surprised by how quickly this has all happened?
I definitely didn't expect to happen this fast. I knew that the car would be there right out the gate, but I was expecting a little bit more of a learning curve for me. But having my dad teach me definitely helped to get me there a lot faster. He's taught me everything I know driving wise, and it's funny because a lot of the guys are like, we can't tell if it's you or your dad doing a burnout. Y'all do the exact same thing. So I'm definitely excited to be in the car. I've watched him drive his car for years, so that definitely helps being around it all the time. You pick up on things, whereas opposed to if you just get in one, then you have nothing to show you. But
so you've been watching your dad for a long, long time, paying close attention. How many times do you think you went through that process of watching him do a burnout, watching how he stages the car, watching how they kind of handle all those different things? Every time that happened, every time you were watching, were you kind of like adding that to your mental Rolodex? Like, oh, okay, I'm picking up on that, picking up on this.
Yeah, I definitely think it's more just muscle memory in these things, and not necessarily just fine picking everything, but my mom will always joke, she's like, why are you so into that? Why are you picking at that? And just watching him, I mean, it's countless numbers of runs that I've watched him since I was little, and just paying attention and hearing the conversations, listening to him talk on the phone and stuff like that. The little stuff and the GoPro videos inside his car, definitely. Before I started running the 632 car last year, I was like watching those things like crazy. Just, okay, what do I do here? What do I do here? And just trying to pick up on as much as I can so that when I did move into it, it would be a smooth transition.
What about the transition from a dragster to a door car? That's something that a lot of people talk about, a big, big swing. Obviously, you go from sitting in the center to sitting on the left-hand side of the car. You also have doors closing, that little bit of claustrophobia that happens when you get inside of there with a helmet on, a Hans device, fire suit, belted in. Can you take us through kind of your initial reaction to that? Did it take a little bit of getting used to?
Yeah, definitely. It was a little weird at first. The whole sitting in the center of the car as opposed to the left is definitely the biggest transition. Even when I did my burnouts at first, and still sometimes now if I haven't been in the car in a while, like I want to drive to the center or to the right so that I'm in the center of the track. And when they're backing me up, they're like, all right, remember you're not in your dragster. I'm like, okay. And I just have to keep reminding myself. But getting back into the dragster bracket racing on weekends, that is even a big transition because it's like, I feel like I'm out in the open now. Like being closed in the door car, you're in your own little world in there. But it's definitely fun. I give it to anyone that can transition from full tree and pro tree in one weekend. I give it to them because they're doing it.
That's an awesome point that I think people sometimes sleep on. We see it a lot, like in all walks of the racing life. I think about various NHRA drivers that are going to go run pro tree or race pro stock, and then they're going to go dabble in a dragster. They're going to run a foot brake car. And you're exactly right, Amber, that it's a real being able to stay fluid and stay fluent in whatever car you're in. It really is impressive. Do you think that is something that has helped you, though, by bouncing back and forth and kind of having to stay on your toes as opposed to getting comfortable?
I definitely think being able to be fluid and not getting stuck in a routine is definitely helpful. And even just bracket racing in general before I got into the heads-up racing is helpful because I will tell anyone, bracket racers, they are some of the best racers in the country. When you're driving the stripe, 00 at the finish line, or you got to let go of the button and be 10 or better or 00 or better, it definitely makes you become a better driver and you learn a lot more about your driving habits, whereas in the 632 car, you learn a lot more about the car itself. But I definitely think changing it up helps me not get stuck in a routine to where if someone wants to play games on the starting line or something happens and I can just throw that out and just remember, okay, what am I supposed to do? And just go through those steps instead of being stuck in just one routine that I have to do every time.
It's funny that you say that because there's a lot of people like in life, they talk about having a routine. And, if you want to be successful, you need to do this the same way every day, wake up, brush your teeth, work out, meditate, read a book, whatever, right? And do that every day. But I actually watched a little thing the other day and it was kind of interesting because it talked about that can actually really sabotage you. because the moment you are out of that routine, you're like a fish out of water. What are we going to do? Oh my gosh, I'm not getting to do what I always do. So I think you make a great point, Amber, that it's being able to kind of stay on your toes and stay fresh may serve you well. Take me through this past weekend. You qualified, I believe, second amongst the 13-car field of Pro 632 cars in Bowling Green. I've said this a lot, and I stand by it. Pro 632 is like one of the unsung heroes, the hidden gems of the PDRA. Lots of different cars, lots of different personalities, really great racing. You qualified number 2 amongst the field with a 4:16 with an 8, right alongside Walter Lanigan Jr. He also went a 16 with an 8, got you a little bit by speed. So headed into race weekend, did you feel like, hey, headed into race day, we've clearly got a hot rod? I mean, did you go in going, hey, we can win this deal?
Yeah, I was definitely, I was excited going into that weekend. We came off of Galat, and I didn't do my job in the semifinals. We had a fast car there, but I was excited for Kentucky. And then when we went and qualified number 2 and we ran the same thing as Walter, I was like, okay, we have contentions here. And going into race day, unfortunately, Sylvester Barnes broke first round, so we didn't get to run. But first round, we ran a little slower than we were wanting, came back and ran second round. I believe I had another bye, and I was confident. It gave me the first round and second round jitters to get out of the way. So going into the semifinals, we ran Stewart, and he's another fast car. So that was a good race. We were side by side, so I was excited for that one. And then obviously in the finals with Lexi, that was very, very exciting. We both have been talking about that day for a while.
So you guys grew up racing junior dragsters together, have a close friendship. I mean, that had to be a pinch me moment. I mean, can you tell us, do you mind sharing a little bit of those conversations? Even if it's like giggly girl talk, we're here for it. Like, because I mean, it has to be an amazing thing to meet one of your closest friends who's also a young woman in the final round of a big drag race that everybody's talking about. I mean, what a moment.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of it was just a small talk, but it's Lexi and me have a great relationship because we both understand our lifestyles. And I'll tell anyone, living the racing lifestyle is not easy because meeting friends outside of here, not a lot of people understand why we do this stuff. So we have been best friends for 10 years now. And we were joking earlier in the weekend because we only thought she was going to be there Friday. She wasn't supposed to come back Saturday, and then ended up coming back Saturday. And after all the craziness that she went through to get to the track, I was like, okay, it's our day. We need to go to the finals. Like, this has to happen. She was like, tell me about it. That's what we need. And then we ended up, and when she kept winning rounds, I'm like, okay. And then I was typically later in line running, and I would watch her win. I'm like, okay, I got to do this. We got to do this. And then when we both turned on the win lights in the semifinals, we were so excited on the top end zone. We were like, we're going to the finals. And I was like, it's just unreal because we really have been talking about one day when we run 632, one day when we run 632, we'll be able to do this and that. And so it was a dream come true for both of us to be in the finals together. But each of us were happy no matter what the outcome was.
It was a really, I mean, it's no surprise to anybody who watches the show a lot. I've got goosebumps. It's just such a fantastic feel-good story of the summer. Amber, one of the things that I'm so proud about when it comes to the sport of drag racing is how inclusive our sport is. I talk about this all the time, but you go to the racetrack and I see people from every walk of life, wealthy, people who hardly have 2 nickels to rub together, right? I mean, it's this extremely diverse, every race, color, creed are represented, various religious backgrounds. And one of the things that I think is incredible is that drag racing provides young women such as yourself like the opportunity to go compete against big, strong boys, right? Big, strong men on a level playing field. Do you share that sentiment and do you spread that amongst your friends? Is that something that you talk about? Because, I mean, in fairness, I mean, I'm sure you'd give it hell, but you're not going to go play tackle football with a bunch of, 30 and 40-year-old guys, right? But it's drag racing gives you the opportunity to go be a competitor and not necessarily be labeled a girl or whatever, right?
Yep. No, you're definitely right. And one thing that I heard of I don't even remember. It was a couple years ago. Erica Enders actually said it in a video. I think NHRA made that the race car knows no different. It doesn't know if it's a girl or boy driving. It's going to do its job no matter what, and it's either going to run or not. So it's our job as drivers to really fill that position, and running against guys a lot older than me now or some around the same age, like it's definitely different because at first when I came in, everyone was very, very warm and welcoming. And then when we started doing good, you slowly realize, okay, they don't like getting outrun by girls. Not all of them. Most of them in the class are great. So it's just interesting how you see it. But in all honesty, like me and Lexi running in the finals this weekend, we're both 19-year-old college students just doing our weekend thing that we love to do. So it's really exciting to get to run against everyone. And there are a few people out there that they'll walk up to me and be like, that's an awful lot of car for such a little girl. And I'm like, yeah, like, I don't know, just drive it. And they're like, can you drive it? And I'm like, I mean,
of course I can.
You can come watch. We're here to race. So it's fun, but drag racing definitely has that look of it's a male sport. So being a female in it does feel good to prove the haters wrong a lot.
I love it, and I don't think we talk about it enough. Like if I'm NHRA, if I'm PDRA, like this is such a big deal because it's not happening anywhere else. It's not happening in NASCAR. It's not happening in dirt late model racing. It's not happening in anything. We have this wildly inclusive, wildly diverse sport that stands tall, stands proud in the sporting landscape. And I think it's something that I'm especially passionate about. And I'm so grateful that we have young ambassadors such as yourself that are out here proving us all right. Amber, look toward the future for us for a little bit, right? You're obviously in the throes of a championship hunt at this point. I'm sure as confident as your team is, your family is, and as much success as you guys have had, got to give a shout out to mom and dad, right? Tom and Judy Franklin. Let's actually touch on that. What's it like to do all this, but do it with mom and dad, little sister, to do it with your family?
It's honestly the only way I would do it. We've grown up around the racetrack. I was 5 days old when I went to the racetrack for the first time. So doing it with my family is really the only way I've ever known to do it, and I love it. I've, like I said earlier, watched my dad, grew up racing, watching my dad. Now with my sister doing it, she's getting into it, and watching her fall in love with it the way that I have has been really cool, and watching her succeed. It's different. Like you always expect and watch your dad like, oh, he's done this. Like he's got it. He's going to win. But then when you watch your sister grow into it and succeed too, it's really cool. And then now that my mom's back racing again, that's fun because she's getting back into it after so many years of just letting us grow up and stuff.
And being the support system. Judy Franklin's like the ultimate glue guy. She's the glue girl, right? She holds it all together. It's an amazing thing to have watched over the years. We've been lucky to have a front row seat to virtually all things PDRA since the start. And it's been an amazing thing to see how this whole deal has happened, the story unfold. We couldn't be happier for you. I do want to say that we really are proud of you. At Drag Illustrated, all of us here, you're a great representative for our sport. You're a great ambassador. I think you've got a really bright future ahead of you. And we do appreciate it because those that have heard me give my Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30 speech have heard me talk about how hard it is to be one of those kind of outsiders in the high school ecosystem or in the college ecosystem where you're not a cheerleader, you're not on the football team, you're not part of the glee club or the chess club or the mathematicians or whatever they do. You're going drag racing with the family or going drag racing with your friends. And it's just great. And I hope you know how much we appreciate and we're proud of you for making the tough decisions, not going to the beer party and going to the shop instead, right? Making decisions that are going to keep you in race and getting good grades and all those things so your parents continue to support your dream. Let me ask you this. We've seen the escalation of a handful of other competitors. We've seen Dylan Voss make the move from PDRA Pro 632 into Extreme Pro Stock this year. We've seen Johnny Placino make that same leap. If you had to pick, if you could do whatever you wanted, are you going to follow in your pop's footsteps and be battling him out in Pro Nitrous here before long?
That would definitely, that's definitely my goal. Pro Nitrous would be ultimately where I want to be, not immediately, but I definitely want to work my way to that. And obviously running alongside him would be pretty cool. It's a lot of work running 2 pro cars, so I don't know how long we can both do that, but I definitely want to run alongside him in Pro Nitrous one day. And pro mods are what I love. Everyone's, what about funny car? What about Top Fuel? But I love pro mods. Anything Doorslammers, I think that they're the coolest thing in the world. And PDRA has some of the most competitive Doorslammer classes, and the racing, like you said after Galat, the racing's tight. The racing's good. All those drivers are doing their job.
I think it's like the best racing that's happened. Like, it's pretty impressive. I mean, it's unbelievable, the collection of talent they have. Well, I tell you what, Amber, we're here for that. We're signed up. Mike, JT, I know all of us would love to see you line up alongside Jungle Rat in like the Jungle Mouse or something. I don't know what we'll name it, but we'll come up with something. But Amber, congratulations on a hell of a weekend. We can't wait to see how the rest of the season goes for you. And we'll see you at the next stop on the PDRA Tour. I believe the American Doorslammer Nationals, or excuse me, American Doorslammer Challenge, coming up race 3 at Summit Motorsports Park in Norwalk, Ohio, June 23rd, 4th, and 5th. Congratulations, Amber. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. Guys, I got to tell you, am I supposed to do a script read, JT? You're kind of leaving me hanging here. I am? Okay, I see you shaking your head in the green room. Hold on, let me find one. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to remind you that the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by our friends at Elite HP, the world leader in used race cars, racing engines, parts, and tools. Located in Fort Worth, Texas, Elite HP is operated by real deal drag racers with over 100 years of combined racing experience who can steer you in the right direction for all your racing needs. Whether it's a turnkey pro mod, a set of pro jacks, a toolbox, or a golf cart, they've got it all. Check out their inventory right now at elitehp.com. Sweet little graphic there I made myself this morning since nobody would help me. Anyways, guys, that's a fantastic segue, right? Because how about the, did I say the wrong dates? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say it's May. It's Memorial Day weekend coming up.
Listen, I carry this around in my pocket everywhere I go. And I just read the wrong one. Sorry. Let me clarify that. The PDRA American Doorslammer Challenge coming up May 26, 27, 28, 2022. Race 3 at Summit Motorsports Park, Norwalk, Ohio, the house that the Baders built. Guys, this is a good segue. How about that video that started circulating last night of Elite HP's own Marty Robertson getting the old Badfish Barracuda warmed up? That thing's got big old tires on it. It's got a Pro Charge Hemi between the frame rails and it appears destined for No Prep Kings competition. What's your take on that? We've seen that old boy behind the wheel in Radial versus the World competing at a high level with a variety of different engine combinations, as well as NHRA Pro Stock, and now he's headed to No Prep Kings.
Did you go out for the testing?
Well, they got a little bit of a delayed. We were hoping to go out there, and they were going to test from 1 to, I thought we were going to test around noon or 1. And then I was going to run out there, but they were still working on the car, and they've got Patrick Barnhill calling the shots on that deal.
I saw some video stuff. Saw Patrick Barnhill. They got the deal with Bodie, so I guess he's going to be part of Team Bodie or whatever when he goes over there. I think it's interesting. I mean, we talked about in that video also that Marty and Bodie did, talking about Odom, the other new car that we've seen there. It's like they're getting some more variety, getting some different characters and personalities over there. It was cool to see Marty kind of just driving around the pits. Did you see that video where he was just kind of getting familiar with the car? I think that's something that maybe not a lot of people know about is, you know, when you get a new car, you're getting into a new car like that. You may see guys just driving it around the pits for a little while with no nose on it, just make sure the brakes work, getting familiar with it, getting comfortable with it. So I don't know if they've got any tests in yesterday.
I know they made 3 hits last night. I believe they made 2 or 3 before they decided to pull the plug on it. It was getting a little chilly there yesterday, and we've got some rain headed our way tonight. Apparently some severe storms, I think, headed this direction.
We just had a hell of a thunderstorm here.
I thought that's what that was.
Like lightning striking, and I don't know how the power didn't go out. So if you're listening to this and you're watching this and you see me jump or some crazy lighting and noise going on here, we just barely survived a major storm here.
Well, I'm glad you're okay.
I'm still here, yeah.
I gotta say,
getting a beer.
I'm anxious to see just how this whole deal plays out, to be honest with you, because this is the thing that we have been talking about for years, is when these pro level teams, and this is no shot at anybody that operates, you know, I don't want to get in that that venue and those venues right now. I'm not trying to get anybody up on the tire, but we do have to acknowledge that when you start bringing in pro level operations and guys that have pro level resources, pro level infrastructure, it's an absolute difference maker, right? I mean, we've seen some people rise to the top of those programs based almost entirely around their maintenance, their consistency, their commitment to testing. Looking at Ryan Martin, right? That when you bring that pro level approach, when you bring that, hey, here's how they do it in the big leagues, that's what we're going to do here. It's a difference maker, and I'm anxious just to see because, man, it feels like there's an influx. The John Odom team with that blue Nissan GTR out of David Monday Race Cars, that's a hot rod, great-looking car, first-rate, no expense spared type of deal. I would say the same situation exists for Marty Robertson and the Badfish Barracuda. No expense spared, best of the best. One of the things I heard Bodie talking about is all the extra parts and pieces. Right, having a trailer full of motors, having a trailer full of extras, that is a big difference.
We talked about that with Musey. I think Musey and a couple of the other teams, Ryan Martin, obviously sort of brought that to the table over there. I think before those guys, it was,
I agree.
It was rare to non-existent that you had spare parts or spare engines, and so it's just going to ramp it up, and it's going to take a new level of commitment and financial wherewithal to compete in that deal.
Does that change the projection, or the trajectory, that No Prep Kings is on? Because it's going to be interesting to see how apparently they've changed.
I think they need it.
Future street out. Like, we don't have the team attack anymore.
Yeah, there's
right?
the grade 8 on Friday nights now.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's needed though. I mean, I think you need some guys to step up and really compete against Ryan Martin.
I think it's going to happen inevitably, but I think what NPK and Street Outlaws has going for it that these other deals don't is an invested, we'll call it third party, that is wanting to ensure that the show remains good, and that you have all these other outside factors that a normal promoter or race series or track or racer would not have, where it's just, no rules, or let's change the rules to fit our combination, or let's allow this new combination in and let this deal run away much quicker than it would have otherwise. So I think you've got these outside forces that will keep it in control a little bit better, but I do think you're going to see it slowly escalate.
I like it though. I'm ready for it.
How does this impact like the future Street Outlaws thing, right? Like, because so the future stars is a standalone category. Like, I need someone to educate me on this, because
I think a lot of them, I mean, there's going to be a few.
We're seeing in the comments right now, and I know that I've been instructed not to read every comment by my production team here, but Kevin Stevenson is reporting that the top 8 in points race every Friday for $15,000. So if that's the case, if that's what the great 8 is, where do the new guys get discovered? Is that a
I think they're still doing the Future Street Outlaws deal.
Okay.
But Team Attack was separate from Future Street Outlaws always. So now they've replaced Team Attack with the grade 8, which is just a Friday night secondary race for the main stars. They still got the Future Street Outlaws. David Gates won the first one. I think, did he win? Has he won both of them already? I can't remember. Kevin Stevenson will tell us. Kevin Stevenson's the hookup on NPK info.
Well, here's my thought on that. I mean, and it's smart, because this actually, what that is ensuring that all your superstars race on Friday night, so you get fans to come on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's been the goal all along. Speaking of NPK, pull up that picture of us, Wes. We went to Pat Musey's open house on Saturday, in addition to our trip to ZMAX.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. And real quick, there was a lot of people. We got a text here that I just got from Marty Robertson. He's actually at Extreme Raceway Park in Ferris, Texas, about an hour from where I'm at currently. And the report is car is running better than expected. Patrick Barnhill kind of leading the charge there as a tuner. I believe Elite HP's Mick Snyder. Dave, I think De Palma's out there. They've got a squadron of guys out there helping on the car, but they're testing at XRP, and they're super excited to get out in the mix. They're seeing a lot of progress already. I think that their plan is to run until they can't run anymore, like if it rains or whatever happens tonight. So anyways, very exciting to get a new group new face in that deal. But I am curious where these guys are going to show up. Like, so apparently there's a 3,000 or 4,000 to win Future Street Outlaws shootout. That must be the open big tire category that people have been talking about.
Yeah, that's what you have to go in to, to make it to the next level. And it's still up to them if they allow you to the next level. So
right. I mean, they still got to decide if you fit the model or if you're a character that they can kind of build something around. Mike, you're right. We had a great time. Huge shout out to Pat and Lizzie Musey. Welcomed us to their open house out in Mooresville, North Carolina. Really impressive facility. It was a full day deal, right, Mike? I mean, they had a half a day open house at the engine shop. Also in Mooresville, and then they took a brief lunch break and moved the party over to the Musey Race Shop. Brand new construction, incredible building. Had the cars on display. Pat had a couple of his own personal cars there. Really a pretty cool deal, man. I was blown away by it, and having known Pat for so long, it's just crazy to see how big this deal has got. I mean, he's taking pictures with fans. There's a line of people wanting his autograph as much as they want Lizzie Musey's. He's really become a big star in our sport, even the mainstream portion of our sport. And it's kind of crazy to see.
Yeah, absolutely. They're mainstream celebrities now. I tell Pat and Lizzie this a lot, that it's different than, the pro street career you had, or even like the pro nitrous career that Lizzie had. It's like when you open the doors to an open house like this, you're going to get a lot of people. You have no idea who they are, fans from all over the country, because they're dedicated and coming to see you, because this may be the only opportunity they can do that. So you get just this mainstream broad audience, and that place was a zoo. It was a zoo. So I was happy for them for that to go off well. They've been planning and wanting to do an event like that for about 2 years. And COVID and everything else slowed that down, but it went off. It was a massive success. And
didn't you say a fan showed up like on a motorcycle and wanted to race her?
Dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't like vocally trying to race her, but you could kind of feel that there was like, hey, let's get some street racing popping off out here. And it's like, okay, guys, it's the middle of the day. There's people everywhere, but it was really cool. And the timing of it was really interesting, because being that the NHRA was in town, all these folks that likely wouldn't have been in the Charlotte area were in the area. I saw Wayne Jessel there. I saw Joe Steff there.
Joe Pando from MSD. Lon, I believe is his name, from Lincoln Welders.
Lon Damon. Yeah.
Lon Damon. Yep. A lot of people there. All the Edelbrock, the Edelbrock CEO, Tim Jones.
Talk about a handshake. Yeah. Tim Jones, CEO of Edelbrock, has a handshake. He grabbed, I was hurt. Physically injured. I was like, I've already got one messed up arm. I don't need the other one messed up. I reached out and he hit me with that bear paw.
Sit around.
Yeah. That's what JT's doing all day.
Yeah.
No surprise. That one hand on the exercise thing, the other hand on a Coors Light.
Yep.
I called it, man. Oh, it's so funny, dude. There's a lot of NHRA stuff. Real quick, we got to give another shout out. How about our Drink Hard Racing guys? I want to throw this up.
These guys, JT, the FOMO has got to be real for you at this point.
Tom with the motorhome and the hospitality, Jim Parks, Michael, Rodney, and Enos from the Top End Club there at ZMAX. We got welcome into this kind of deal. We haphazardly showed up over there to high five and hang out with our buddies for a minute. Do a Jaeger bomb, of course. And then nobody's having as much fun at the drag races as we are. It just, I challenge anyone to have more fun going to the drag races than we do.
No, we can't do it. Dude, we're working.
Yeah,
right. It was serious.
Yeah, man, we're having a ball.
We were doing serious stuff.
You guys didn't come up with very much content.
We were hanging out.
We captured it. We didn't share it.
Yeah, we didn't share a lot of content, but we did have a lot of fun, and we had a big time. But we went down to see our buddies, the Drink Hard Racing gang, Donnie, Tom, Jim, Mike. We're hanging out, telling stories and whatnot. And they're like, hey, you got to come back Saturday night for this barbecue. And turns out there's a Top End Club, a group of race fans and racers that have congregated down near the scoreboard on the spectator side there at ZMAX Dragway, and they have, I believe, for the last 4 or 5 years been doing a fundraising barbecue for the Drag Racing Association of Women. Draw, they raise a bunch of money, they give it all to Draw. It's quite the to-do. On Saturday night, they fed the NHRA Safety Safari. It was a really cool deal to get to see all the Safety Safari folks show up and get to get some recognition, first and foremost, for the service that they provide. Absolutely tireless effort that they make to keep racers safe. It was so cool to see them get to eat for free and get taken care of and kind of get spoiled. It was a really fun moment. A couple emotional shout outs from Rodney and the gang that organized the deal. We were lucky to be there. Got to hang out with Brett and Mark, a whole bunch of guys. It was a fantastic time, and I just hope all of them know how much we appreciate it. And we're looking forward to do more of it in the future. It's just, I'm reminded every time I'm around a group like that, how lucky we are to operate in this space. Like, it's just packed full of the best people I know. And I literally look forward to the next race.
I think Texas Stampede of Speed is what we're looking to get the whole
Stampede
squad out there.
Is
so
probably
Jim,
on the horizon.
Jim, Tom, Mike, we'll have to get you a grocery list or something, because you
we're
better
gonna have to
stock
go
up
shopping.
if JT's coming and the rest of the crew.
There's no doubt. And I got to tell you,
I'll probably bring a bunch of stuff.
You should. You sold your camper, right?
I may have to bring the party wagon and everything. So
yeah, I would say plan on it, man. It's just a great group that I don't think we talk about enough. Just this incredible community of people that are so selfless. The fact that they've raised almost $25,000 and given it all to draw.
We should rent a motorhome. Yeah.
I already got a couple I found.
They're having fun, man. That's what I like to see. And what we forget, you go to, we're all buttoned up and serious when we go to an NHRA race, especially, but they're there to have a good time. And I think that is something we forget to think about whenever we're thinking about the fans. Are they enjoying the racing? Are the classes there that they want to see? I don't think it matters to these guys and really that whole group what's going on. They're there to see their people and to have a good time and enjoy the sport they love. And it's tailgating for drag racing, and it's something that we can get jaded on doing what we do and racing,
going to the races all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I saw but a couple of passes down the track, to be honest, this weekend in ZMAX. We were in meetings and we were hanging out with those guys and having fun. But it is a reminder that, man, this is a great group of people. We're all lucky to be at the racetrack, right? Other people have real problems, and we're hanging out at the racetrack. It's a fantastic thing. I feel blessed beyond measure to get to do this. And I hope everybody just kind of takes that attitude through the gates the next time they go to the racetrack, that, man, we're lucky to get to do this. Drag racing is something we get to do. We're blessed, we're lucky, and we need to demonstrate that gratefulness, because it's easy to get jaded, right? Like, oh my God, are they still running stock, or whatever? How much longer are this going to junior drag?
Have you heard this or that? The Bad News Travels Fast thing that we opened the show with. Have you heard this? Have you heard that?
I can't believe they're doing this. I can't believe they're doing that.
So much. Yeah. The tendency skews negative at the drag race a lot of times. You got to remember
talk bad about things. It is.
It's
just easy. It makes
I can't remember the quote, but and I'm going to butcher it, so I'm actually just going to forego this reference. But my takeaway, rolling into to ZMAX Dragway, pulling in, I don't know what the deal was, but it felt like a little over the top with security. I mean, there's state troopers everywhere. There's police helicopters. It was bonkers, right? There's cops everywhere. But I rolled in and I'm looking at this tower, and it seems like something out of a movie. Like I'm waiting for a theme song to play or something. There's people everywhere. Everyone's friendly, shirts tucked in, professional. They walk into the tower. They open the door for you. Bathrooms are spotless. Food's amazing. Media center's frigid. I mean, all these things that are so incredible. And I couldn't help but look around and go, drag racing deserves this. This is what we get. I mean, are you serious? I've been to drag strips where you have to redo your whole program because everything's packed full of sand and dirt and dust or couched. I mean, I've been to some really sketchy joints going drag racing, and to know that our sport has venues like this, and this isn't the only one, right? I mean, there's tons of incredible drag strips. Like this whole storyline, every time I blink, somebody's talking about, well, Atlanta's shutting down, blah, blah, blah. Who gives? I mean, listen, there's plenty of badass drag strips. We do not need to get it's just too easy to get over center and emotional and reactive talking about a couple of tracks going away because they've been encroached on by real estate developments or that the business model didn't work out. That's going to have bars close, restaurants close. It doesn't mean we're going to stop eating, right? I mean, or drinking, right? I mean, those places close down. They come into style. They go out of style. It makes sense. They've got a passionate owner. They have a less passionate owner. These things are going to happen. But if you really look at the grand scheme of things, when you've got ZMAXs and you've got the Strip in Las Vegas and you've got Galot Motorsports Park, you got Tulsa, I mean, Extreme Raceway Park, this place is built out of concrete. You've got the Texas Motorplex putting on drag races for like 9 days straight. I mean, there's a lot of good things going on in the sport of drag racing, but by God, can't wait to run a headline on whatever.com about
I saw
4
one that
more
said,
drag strips closing.
Yeah, listed every track that's closed. Memphis, Atlanta.
Yeah, I saw that same one. That's the one I'm pissed about right now.
That headline, it named all of them, closing, drag strips closing across the country.
That was part of they named Houston. And it's like, dude, you don't even know. Call them. They're not closing. They're open right now.
Speaking of drag strips,
yep.
How about Darlington Dragway? We got some news that we just broke on that. Jeff Miles assuming the lease of Darlington Dragway.
Let me pull up the website and I'll bust out some facts here.
We just broke this exclusive news, dragillustrated.com. I believe Nate Van Wagenen did an exclusive interview with Jeff, who just left from Memphis. And we thought he was just going to be the general manager at Darlington.
Yeah, I didn't really know what was going to happen. I knew Jeff reached out and kind of told me that this might happen. And as news was circulating that Memphis was obviously going to go the way of the dodo, he was looking for options and turns up as the new leaseholder at Darlington Dragway. I think we got to give this guy a round of applause. This is a great guy to be at the helm out there at a legendary drag racing facility that's got steeped in history, tons of promise, tons of potential. And I think that he's going to make the most of it. I really do. Nate knocked it out of the park with this story. Log on to dragillustrated.com and you can check it all out. But I want to say that, there's going to be a legacy that lives on at Darlington Dragway that I think is owed almost entirely, not entirely. Obviously, there's been a lot of people do a lot at that facility, but I don't think we can say enough about what Russell and Dee Dee Miller have done to that place. PD Fleet, the investments that have been made, the amount of money that they have likely lost and or invested into that facility, improving it, cleaning it up.
That place looked like time had forgotten it. Like it was a fossil when they took it over, and they have refurbished that place to where it's a destination now around here in the Southeast for all the Doorslammer events, Grudge, No Time stuff, and testing, Pro Mod testing. Tons of it goes on there. PDRA events, of course, for many years. So yeah, those guys had the work cut out for them when they took that deal over, and it looks awesome now.
Oh, the place is spectacular. They do a great job. They're passionate about it. And I think that that's really, don't mean to put words in the mouth of Mr. Russell Miller, a great guy, a longtime friend of ours here at Drag Illustrated, and an all-around wonderful human being. But I don't mean to put words in the man's mouth, but I know that that legacy is important to him. I know that he believes that you're remembered for only a handful of things, right? And he definitely wants a successful and bright future for Darlington Dragway, and I believe that he's committed to making sure that the place is as successful as humanly possible under the watchful eye of Jeff Miles. A really cool deal. Great to break a little bit of news on the show, man. I think we should transition real quick. I want to do just a quick run through, JT. If you want, let's just throw up everybody's logo real quick, one after another, not the banners, the logos. I just want to give a big shout out to our friends at Sand Haulers, Brandon Foster and company that have been a big believer in what we're doing here, a relatively new partner of ours at Drag Illustrated, but we really appreciate it. Check out Sand Haulers, search them up on social media. If you're a truck driver, if you own your own truck and you're not hauling sand, frac sand, you likely should be, as well as our sponsors and longtime partners at Flow Racing, Stroud, Elite HP, Redline Synthetic Oils. Of course, another new partner, Holley. Fantastic to have a legacy brand like Holley involved with what we're doing. Guys, as we kind of head towards the finish line here, let's talk last 20, 30 minutes of the show, kind of our closing notes. You guys already have cocktails out. Unfortunately, I'm bone dry over here. But I would like to just, let's do some like immediate reaction.
Water. Let's do.
Let's do some rapid fire stuff. John Force, 73 years old. His birthday is today. Happy birthday, John. They're not going to let me sing. I wanted to. Go ahead. Happy birthday to you. Okay,
we're going to hang him out to dry that team.
Yeah. 155th career victory for John Force. Unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Just go around the room here. Reactions to a guy still winning in dominating fashion, right? I mean, really, really doing a fantastic job. 73 years old. What do you make of it? 155 wins deep.
They did an awesome piece on the NHRA coverage, showing John as well, and doing the practice tree and him talking. We talked about this in the past, but talking about how he's got to he's got to work on his reaction times. He's got to work on his body. He's got to work on deep staging, all the different stuff that he does to try to gain an advantage. We've debated in the past whether he actually needs that or not, or whether that's him psyching himself up. But I think that we're seeing that this year. We're seeing that at the 4-wide. That's 2 years in a row he's won that race. He won the inaugural race in 2011, I want to say, whenever that was. Right. And he may have won it a couple more times other than that. So I think that he has an advantage in 4-wide. We talked about 4-wide being a bit of an equalizer. And I think a wily veteran like John Force that has a full bag of tricks can take advantage of that 4-wide situation.
He was super excited too. His top end interview, like, it's just good to see.
Shocking.
And I know, right? And then he's like, starts to name off these sponsors, and then he turns around. He kind of
looking at the car,
turns around, and starts going down the car, pointing at him.
Smart.
I'm like,
it's like a notepad.
That's fucking awesome.
It's hilarious.
Because he don't care. He's like, that one and that one. And that one.
Well, how about the fact that he claimed in his post-race interview that this type of performance that he had at ZMAX is going to give him confidence moving forward? And I'm going, okay. Well, I mean, it should, but holy hell, man, you don't got a whole lot of room for improvement. I mean, I can't wait.
It doesn't matter though. Like in any type of sport, you have to see the ball going in. You have to see the ball rolling in the cup. You have to, cut some good lights. You have to get some wins. And when your confidence gets down, when your confidence is up, everything's working. I mean, everything's working. But when your confidence is down, every little thing, you're over scrutinizing everything that you do. So,
John, they did a media availability with him on Friday, and they asked him a question about his place in history and how he compares to Bob Glidden and Muldowney. And he said, I don't compare myself to those people. I'll never be as good as Bob Glidden. I'll never be as good as Shirley Muldowney or match them. And we didn't race in the same class. So he only compares himself to other funny car racers or champions. And he got emotional when someone asked him, why don't you lump yourself in with the rest of these greats, the Mount Rushmore of drag racing? And he got emotional kind of thinking about it. And I think deep down he knows he is. But it's that chip on his shoulder. He likes to maintain that
just getting ready to
underdog chip on the shoulder. I'm still not as good as
that's
them
what
yet.
They used to say about Michael Jordan, right? That he would find like unique ways. He would go out of his way to find ways to be motivated and to light that fire and to keep that fire burning. And I think we're seeing a masterclass in keeping that fire burning from John Force. I do wonder, I mean, the guy's he's a championship contender, right? I mean, a few years ago, I don't know that you would have made that argument, but I mean, could we actually see this dude win a 17th world championship? I really do think
that'd be crazy.
It's a real
with the
deal
countdown,
possibility.
anything can happen, man.
Right.
Anything can happen. Huge tip of the cap to that whole team. It's just great to see him having such success. There's also some great folks that are supporting that program at Peak and Blue Def Platinum. So it's great to see them having some success and him being able to deliver for his sponsors. We talked a little bit about the insanity that was the Top Fuel category as a whole. But I be seeing Spencer Massey and Cameron Ferret in the final round. A couple of guys, I mean, what are those guys doing in a final? They don't belong there. But that is, to Mike's point earlier in the show, that's some of the insanity that can ensue when you have the wrinkle that is 4-wide drag racing. It was great to see them have some success.
Spencer Massey, especially. Yeah. He's got a good running hot rod, and he is crushing the tree. I think 040 was his average light on race day. Don't quote me on that.
Wow,
it was somewhere in that range because every time I was watching the whole broadcast, and
to cut those lights at 4-wide, that's like doing something. How about Mike Salinas? Yeah. Let's talk about Mike real quick. I want to give Mike some credit. Just first and foremost, he was a guy that oftentimes identified himself as the weak link for his team, especially during that couple-year period there where he had Alan Johnson and Brian Hewson calling the shots, arguably the greatest tuning duo amongst the greatest tuning duos in the history of drag racing. And he would often kind of put it all on his shoulders, that he was struggling. He wasn't doing his job behind the wheel. The car would run well, but he wasn't there. He has shown up in a big way here in 2022. It's been great to see a driver commit to making an improvement and actually achieve it, right? I mean, he is a fierce competitor. He's already got 2 wins in 2022. And if you do a little compare and contrasting, I mean, it's been since like 2016 since Steve Torrance, our reigning defending world champion, Mr. Champ himself, 4X, it's been since 2016 since he's went 5-6 races without a win. I mean, we're 6 races into the season and Steve Torrance hasn't been in the winner's circle yet. Mike Salinas has been there twice.
And Mike's second in points coming off that win.
Yeah.
Justin Ashley third in points. So you're seeing the competition level in that class is insane, but you're seeing some surprises compared to what we thought we'd see up there.
One of the things I think the biggest surprise to me when it comes to Top Fuel right now is I'm just waiting patiently for Coletta Motorsports to come off the top ring rope with like a frog splash on the whole field, because I cannot believe that J.R. Todd in the funny car as part of the Coletta Motorsports camp, but more specifically, Sean Langdon and Doug Coletta in Top Fuel with the tuning prowess of Alan Johnson, Brian Houston, that camp, that brain trust. Those are arguably two of the best drivers that our sport has right now. I know Doug Johnson's going to point to Lyle Barnett, and we definitely think Lyle's in that conversation. But I'm here to tell you, man, as soon as Sean Langdon and Doug Coletta are paired with super consistent, front of the pack, top of the pack performance, they're in the hunt to win a championship. I mean, anything goes when it comes countdown time, but I can't wait. That's one of the things that I'm waiting for, like the other shoe to drop, because eventually Alan Johnson's going to lower the boom on these guys, right?
Yeah, I'm sure they're working on something, and it'll come to fruition very soon. Someone that I think we need to talk about in funny car is Chad Green.
Yes.
He's solely focused on funny car this year. He's 9th in points after Charlotte. And I think that team, the Wilkerson crew, is doing a good job. Tim's 10th in points right behind him. So cool to see that team doing well. And Chad deserves that. He's been fighting the good fight for a while. And
how about all the TV time our buddy Chad is getting? Yeah. His son got his Top Fuel license, is racing a fuel, top alcohol dragster, excuse me. Really great to see kind of like the stars and moon aligning for that group. Chad's going rounds. It's a fantastic thing, and I'm anxious to see kind of what happens here the rest of the year. I believe he's committed to most, if not all, the full pull, so it's a great thing for drag racing to have a guy like that with the resources to compete at a high level. Good thing. How about Steve Johnson, man? This guy is not at all afraid to stir the pot. Back-to-back wins in NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle. Got a real rub kind of established. Nothing new between him and Matt and Angie Smith, a couple of fellow Pro Stock Motorcycle competitors, but also kind of lumped Angel Sampay in there. Clearly not afraid to call people out. Are you loving the shit talking and the pot stirring, or would you like to see him pull back?
No, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Yeah. He's wired. I mean, holy shit. You think John Force is wired on the top end interview? I mean, he's all over the place. I mean, it's crazy.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate the passion and enthusiasm. I appreciate the passion and enthusiasm. I find Steve Johnson to be one of those guys that's perhaps the most polarizing personality in drag racing. He's a guy that when you engage with the fans, and you can pick this up on social media in a hurry, he is loved or hated. There's very little middle ground with Steve Johnson, but I think it's a fantastic thing to see him stirring the pot. My argument, and I don't really want to get into what the fight's about. I think the original argument between the Smith family camp and Steve Johnson goes back to a quote that was attributed to Matt about hobby racers. He being a professional racer because he makes his living drag racing, whereas many other people race at a pro level, but it's a hobby for them. It's their golf game. It's their passion away from how they earn a living, right? That is a phrase that I've used before, and people get up in arms about it, in a hurry. Yeah. And it's clearly something that got under Steve Johnson's skin, because every time he's quoted, there's a reference to being a hobby racer made. All that aside,
there's a lot more than that, though, too, right?
Yeah,
Didn't they? I think the Suzuki deal, something about that too, and then also even just the weekend prior, 2 weeks, the changing of the bikes for Matt was Steve got a jab in on that too. So really anything,
and he kind of laughed. He kind of laughed when he did it, though.
Yeah,
it was so. Yeah.
Oh no, but like, Angie went right on social and. She was not happy about that. So any opening either of these teams get to take a stab at the other, they're taking it, and I'm here for it big time.
Me
I think
too.
I think somebody.
No one. We haven't talked about Pro Stock Motorcycle this much. No one has. I mean, it's the topic. It's a popular conversation, and I think that's good for the sport overall, good for the class specifically. Mike, what were you going to say?
Karen Stouffer is the other name we got to talk about. She's only 6 points out of first, behind Steve. We talked to her for a bit on Friday, and then the news broke, I believe, yesterday
on CompetitionPlus.com.
Yeah, on Competition Plus, that she plans to step away after the season.
Yeah, her last full-time year. I was surprised because I feel like, I guess I didn't realize how long she's been doing this. You know, it kind of made me feel a little dated.
Well, she's kind of she just goes about her business and has always been competitive when she's out there full time. But she's really kind of hit another gear this year, and you can tell that team, that's to me a team to watch for the championship.
Agreed.
And then, like we talked about Matt and Angie. Matt's 7th right now. He's just had some bad luck. Angie, bike not starting in Houston. Matt with the bike change deal. So that team, if memory serves me correct, that seems to be a common theme with them. But then by the time the championship and the countdown rolls around, they've got it figured out, and they're in the hunt. So we'll see what happens with those guys, but definitely not the start to the year for them that everyone expected. And I'm sure that they're looking to turn that around.
I agree. How about one of the big storylines that I think existed this past weekend, or something I noticed, was, man, what a big deal has been made out of Ron Capps joining the Toyota racing family and debuting that Napa Know-How blue and yellow Toyota GZ Supra. A great looking car. I've written before that I believe that is the best looking funny car body.
Let's see it. You have a picture of it.
Yeah, I've got it. I'll throw it up here. My bad. I apologize. I was supposed to have photos queued up for all these, wasn't I? But this is what happens sometimes. I really think that these cars are extremely good looking.
It's badass.
But I'll tell you, one of the things that we learned over the weekend is that the way the body is and the way the quarter panels are and the deck lid, they're able to get that spoiler, that wing way down lower than it can be on a lot of the other funny car bodies. And we heard kind of through the grapevine that they expect this Toyota Supra to be worth, I've heard 3 to 5 miles per hour. Just the body. The body could be worth 3 to 5 miles per hour. I will say, speaking of polarizing topics and polarizing people, the social media outcry, people were up in arms. I couldn't believe how big of a reaction there was to Ron going from a Dodge to a Toyota. People acted like it was a switching camps, but it really wasn't.
It was Dodge.
Yeah, Ron had no official relationship with Dodge to start 2022. He was running a Dodge Charger body, but he wasn't. There was no sort of official relationship, no contract, no agreement, no understanding, and he was looking for an opportunity, and Toyota presented him with one, and he took it. I don't know any racer worth their salt that wouldn't have done that, and he was quickly vilified. But man, he kind of put an exclamation point on the change, on the move this past weekend at ZMAX. Went to the final. I believe that's the first Toyota Supra funny car that has made it to a final round here in 2022. Ran extremely well, and by all accounts is super excited to be a part of this. I know Ron was a big part of the Toyota Media Day that took place, Mike, on Wednesday and Thursday, or Thursday? Yep. And Toyota had a big presence, and I don't really have any relationships at Toyota, but I do want to give them some credit because they have they're making a big investment in drag racing, and I appreciate it. And I think we should all appreciate it. I appreciate all these companies, obviously, but it is clear as day that Toyota is making a push. They recognize this as a market they want to be a part of,
I brought them in
that they want to engage.
With the Murder Tundra.
Tundra.
Yeah, we had you to thank for that.
And they said, that's the place for us, boys.
It may have been all you, it may have been all you, but I do think they deserve some credit, man. We had someone, who was it, telling us about what's that deal? They had like a trailer there full of like engineers and scientists or whatever wearing lab coats. It's just cool to see that level of trackside support from a major auto manufacturer. I'm down with it, man. I think it's fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm gonna need Chris Bell to build me a new shock for my chair.
Oh, yeah. Shoot him a text.
Oh, look,
knock it out.
There, I'm back.
We'll burn through this as we're wrapping up the show. I do want to remind all you guys, we've kind of discovered that the ultimate promotional tool for this show is each and every one of you. The word of mouth behind this program is really, really strong. And first and foremost, thank you very much for the support and for being a part of this conversation every week. I want to remind you, click subscribe. If you're watching along on YouTube or social media, make sure you're clicking that bell. Make sure you're set up to get notifications so you get a little ding or a message in your inbox every time we post up some new content or go live. Let's touch on the PDRA Doorslammer Derby this past weekend. We checked in with Amber Franklin, heard about her big win in Pro 632, but that wasn't the only happening. We saw Jimmy Winlights, I'm calling him, Jim Halsey, back in championship form. No big surprise, right, to see Jim Halsey, his wife Kathy, Eric Davis, crew chief, nitrous tuning guru, Brandon Schweitzer back in championship form. Mike, I'm sure you weren't at all surprised to see that Daddy Shark Camaro in the winner's circle at the end of the night on Saturday.
No, they just took a quick break from the winner's circle there. They're right back. Jimmy Winlights, you're probably going to need to call Jim or Kathy and get that approved.
Yeah, I probably will.
Before you start using that too much.
Well, I'm going to lean on it.
The Daddy Shark thing is pretty ingrained at this point.
Yeah, I just think that's the name of the car, right? And I'm big on drivers having names, nicknames. I think we lean on it.
I like it. I'm for it.
How about Johnny Placino? Another one. Kind of had a little bit of an off year in 2021. Comes back, reminds us all that he's one of the best to do it out here. Johnny Placino works his way to the winner's circle. I was looking at the round results, and I got to tell you, man, Extreme Pro Stock still just big things happening here. Lots of momentum, a lot of enthusiasm, new names. There's new cars coming, fresh faces coming. This is a really, really, really competitive class. Some great drag racing going on, and it was great to see Placino in the final. Ended up never looking back. Left on JR car and streaked to the win, 408 with a 6 to best cars, 408 with a 7. Another thing that I want to touch on, Preston Tanner. We talked about Lexi Tanner scoring her first final round appearance in Pro 632 alongside her bestie, Amber Franklin. But how about Preston Tanner, another member of the Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30 alumni, goes to the final round in Pro Boost against Todd Tutterow. What a moment, right? Fresh face, young kid behind the wheel of a blown Pro Mod going up against, I'm sure, one of his heroes, Todd Tutterow. We've argued that he's one of the best to ever do it.
Well, what did we say? What Lyle say the other week? That Tutterow is the last person you want to see in the other lane.
The last person you want to see in the other lane.
In the finals.
It was a pretty special moment, man. I mean, what a moment for that family. The Tanner family, they have been diehard supporters of the PDRA since the jump. Lexi and Preston won world championships in junior dragster, pro junior dragster, and top junior dragster simultaneously in 2015. Just these feel-good stories, we got to talk about them as much as we possibly can. I don't think drag racing's as proud of its farm system as maybe we should be. These kids started out in junior dragsters. Now they're driving 3-second door cars, low 4-second door cars, and going to final rounds, doing big things. It's a great thing for the sport of drag racing. I couldn't be more proud.
Before you move on, I want to show this clip of Johnny. And at the very end, you talk about emotion.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I haven't seen
it. Roll it.
Let me fast forward here a little bit here.
Mountain motor cars sound so good.
Those sound good, doesn't
it? This is drag racing as God intended it. I can tell you that. Tony Gillig, great guy.
Yep.
Fantastic racer. Pops, volunteer crew.
We'll fast forward.
Hell yeah.
No, let it go. Let it go.
Okay, now watch this at the end here. We're listening.
I think this angle would just see how bad he won. JR tried to give him the Ricer flyby. That's what they call that in street racing.
We're back, man.
Baby.
back.
Oh my god, I got goosebumps, man. I gotta call him right now. Oh, dude, love a moment like that. That's what we do it for, right? I mean,
back, baby.
Back, baby. And hey, man, he's got a hot rod. You never count those guys out, and it's great to see them back in championship form. Touching on the Pro Mod thing, one last time here, I just want to give a tip of the cap to John Mazzarana, the whole team, everybody that's been involved with the Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Association. They had their season opening event, kicking off their 30th season of consecutive operation. As somebody who's put on a handful of drag races, I cannot imagine doing it for 30 years. I have an infinite amount of respect for John Mazzarana, all the track partners, all the sponsors, all the fans, all the racers, perhaps above all. Tip of the cap to all you guys, because the Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Association is really a great example of what our sport's all about. It's a club of sorts. It's regional. It's got a regional fan following, and it's a great example of how it's done. And it's great to see them succeed after all these years. Congratulations to the Deckers, father and son final round there at Maryland International Raceway. I believe Pops took the win. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, Pops took the win. But kind of closing notes here. By my count, Mike, JT, 63 Pro Mods doing the Lord's work this past weekend in drag racing. We had 15 cars, and now granted, when you spread this group of people around a multitude of events, it certainly has an impact. It certainly has an effect. But to have 15 Pro Mods racing in Charlotte at the ZMAX, at the Bellagio of drag strips, ZMAX Dragway, to have 12 and 15 cars respectively in Pro Nitrous and Pro Boost in Bowling Green, Kentucky for the PDRA Doorslammer Derby, as well as 21 on the sheet for the Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod season opener in Maryland. 63 Pro Mods going drag racing this past weekend, and that's excluding all the various quick 8 shootouts and local events and regional events that are happening all over the country that we're not counting. Pro Mod is strong. I say this a lot, but it's weekends like this one that remind me that this really is a special thing inside of drag racing. I mean, there's not 63 funny cars racing this past weekend. There's not 63 pro stock cars racing this past weekend. There's not 63 Outlaw 10.5 cars racing this past weekend. There's not 63 RVW cars racing this past weekend, but there were 63 high-level, pro-level, pro-modified operations doing work this past weekend, and I think it's a fantastic thing and proof positive that Pro Mod is the universal language of drag racing. Guys, what else do we got before we call it a day here on this episode 254 episodes of the Wes Buck Show? You guys proud of that as I am?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, been here for all 254, man. It's been,
you son of
it's
a
been
do you hear
man.
This guy T? Yeah, been here since the beginning. We had to beg Mike to come on the show. I tried to get this happening.
I was here in spirit, supporting you from behind the scenes. So yeah.
Oh, what a deal. Well, hey guys, again, thank you all for being a part of this. We wouldn't be 254, almost 255 episodes in if it weren't for all of you. All of our sponsors, Sand Haulers of America, Redline Synthetic Oils, Elite HP, Holly Performance Products, Flow Racing, Stroud Safety. Thank you guys all so much for making this show possible. You got anything else you want to cover, or are we going to get the shoots out?
Pull the shoots.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and pull the shoots. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks, everybody. Anybody headed to XRP tonight, I may bump into you. And we'll see what happens next. Big Dog tomorrow night. Go hang out with Mike. Support Piedmont Dragway. Yeah. Mike took me to Mooresville Dragway, drove me by it. They were racing. JT, they were racing Mooresville Dragway, legendary 8th Mile facility. Mike drove me by. They had the
Mike's never invited me out there, so I mean,
it's an open invite, JT. You know that.
Oh,
just show up. Just show up at my house.
They'll take you to some
he'd be pissed
seafood restaurant.
If I showed up out there, wouldn't he? He'd be like,
where'd we eat Friday?
JT showed up.
First thing I'd do is I'd be on Slack. And JT showed up at my house.
Where'd we eat Friday night?
We ate at Bonefish.
Oh yeah, that was good.
We keep Bonefish Grill in business when we're on the road.
Yeah, I like that place.
Pretty
It's I had initially suggested Outback. The thing I like about Outback, consistent. You know what I mean? Like it's a chain restaurant, certainly not like highfalutin or anything, but the food is good. Like sea to shining sea, good food, and it's going to be pretty consistent. But when you see a Bonefish and the parking lot's not like overflowing with
Or
Mercedes SUVs, it's a victory. Right?
Or Wendy's, you know.
Yeah,
like-
or
like
Wendy's
Good
if you got
Baconator,
JT
you
with
know.
Hey,
Yeah.
speaking of which, we need to give a shout out to Rick Belden and his assistant
yeah.
Michelle, who was with us on Friday, knocked it out. Tons of great photos as always. Thanks for putting up with us, Rick.
Yeah, huge shout out to Rick Belden. We got to break bread with Rick Friday night at Bonefish. Had a great time. Easily,
That boy could eat, I bet.
the boy can eat, but he ordered his food double shrimp. I thought that was interesting. Like ordered his whatever he was pasta double shrimp for protein. Right. Caroline, Mike's daughter, would have been okay with it apparently because they've been telling her that that's chicken since she was born.
Yeah.
That's how you gotta get them to eat.
Yeah.
But do you that bang? What's it called?
Bang bang shrimp.
Bang,
this
bang
this dude gets bang bang chicken. So he's
Wes.
pulling the opposite. You think you're getting shrimp? Nope, it's chicken when you're with Wes.
I listen.
You can make
If-
that at home pretty easily.
Yeah.
Bang bang. You can.
Yeah.
That sounds
I bet
pretty
Alicia
good.
could make she could make the sauce pretty easily.
We bang at home all the time.
yeah.
I told this at the dinner table the
walked
other
into
night.
that one.
I don't trust those underwater creatures. If they were trustworthy, if they didn't have anything to hide, they'd be out here walking around with the rest of us, like cows,
Maybe
and
we're
chickens,
the
Saying
and
the same
pigs.
about us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
I know, but I don't trust them, man. It's everybody I know that gets sick or food poisoning ate mussels or I don't know some.
No,
like,
I ate
yeah.
a cold cut sandwich in the LAX Admirals Club. That's what gave me food poisoning.
Yeah.
Really? It just seems like every time I bump into somebody that's got an upset stomach, it's because of shrimp or because of catfish or because of some.
I'm out on shrimp.
I always lie
gross.
because I'm usually just
But
hungover.
I like fish.
Yeah, JT. If I had $1 for every time JT showed up to the office on Monday, he'd be like, "Man, I think my allergies are acting up." And I'm like, "You're so stupid. Your allergies aren't acting up.
I
You
know.
probably just quit drinking an hour ago."
I go to work sick usually, so that I can use a sick day on a
Right.
hangover day. You know, like when you party too hard.
Oh
That's
my
smart
God.
though.
So
I mean,
every
that's
day.
smart. Yeah.
I guess so. Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate it. See you next week, Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. The Wes Buck Show, Drag Illustrated on Facebook, Drag Illustrated on YouTube. Look us up. We'd love to see you.
There you
Thanks,
go.
everybody.
Bye, guys.
Ooh.